Everything's got to. There's got to be some like swamp monster in Finland. Like there's got to be like the haunted sauna monster.
It's actually in saunas. Like there's a lot of different tales about the saunas, but the one belief is that we have the sauna elves, or like living on underneath the sauna structures, and they are usually good nature if you respect the sauna and behave well. But if you do dumb shit, then they might kill you and rip you apart or cast a kind of a bad fortune on you.
You're listening to the Art and War podcast with your hosts Mitch and Nathan. Mitch is a former airborne infantry squad leader who now spends most of his time coaching soccer. Nathan is a professional illustrator and an avid shooter with a couple of years of Canadian military experience. Together, they run the Seaburn art page. Enjoy the show.
I'm making it happen. I've got a bowl of chili that I'm going to be munching on while you're talking.
Oh, good. Another mukbang section with Nathan while we go.
I feel like...
For me, I just woke up because Jax and I say just woke up. I've been up for a little bit, but we got in late last night. We went to a shooting course over the weekend put on by CAGWorks. I don't know if you're familiar with CAGWorks.
Yeah.
Oh, CAGWorks is great. Yeah,
they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
The guy who owns the company, Garrett, is probably one of my favorite people on the planet. I fucking adore him. I met him at SHOT Show, and funny enough, I had met before that Christian, one of his main guys who's been helping out there for a long time, and Christian's a dear friend of Jax and I.
Dude,
and
I love Christian. He's fantastic.
Yeah, we met at SHOT, and it was funny because Christian's like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to," and I was like, "Oh, we've already met." Like, Speaking of SHOT, that's how we ended up here, right, with Jari. Because Jari, I don't know how much you remember of some of those nights.
But all of it. All of those memories will haunt me to the grave.
He goes like, he puts his arm around me and he's like, "Paige, baby, how are you doing?" And you give me a kiss on the cheek, and I was like, "How are you, Jari?" And we're talking, you're like, "Listen, I'm going to be on the podcast." And you and Nathan are going to host it. I'm like, "You don't say." And you're like, "Because both of you are out of your mind." And I was like, "I love it. Yes, you are correct. This is
You're not wrong."
Yeah, that was pretty accurate description how it went, but I was super stoked when Nathan was taking up the opportunity that this might be a cool thing to do. So
yes,
absolutely.
I'm very excited that we finally got to like all three of our schedules finally lined up, because usually like Yari's in the mountains, I don't know, hunting bear with his bare hands or something, or
some sauna being
like doing something completely ridiculous and absolutely in character halfway across the country, like stalking people with night vision goggles on 4 days of no sleep.
And then there's Nathan, who goes out with an eye patch and always has some like mystery injury, like gout. Or like...
That's the least cool out of all these things. Just like
it's the king's disease.
Oh, what happened to Nathan? His eye stopped working, and he has a medieval peasant disease, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
but that eye patch was cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it sucked. It looks cool, but it sucked. I had that stupid little hospital one, the little blue thing with all the vents in it. No, I just made my own out of leather because it made me feel cooler than I really am.
Yeah. But that could be a new thing. Like, just start wearing it like constantly with as an accessory. Like,
people at the gym left me alone.
Yeah,
it'll fuck up your eye vision after a while, though. You can't
it does. It does.
Yeah,
it does strain it a lot to wear it.
You know that thing where like one pupil is way more dilated than the other, and you come off looking like a fucking owl when you've like worn an eye patch for a while. It's weird.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, for people who don't know coming in, Jari here is. Why don't you just tell us about you, Jari? Where you're at and what you do?
I'm based in Finland, so this is a good opportunity to bring some Finnish knowledge for you guys. I was born 1977, which is the great year because the Star Wars came out same
that
year.
That blows my mind. Like, look at you. You look 28,
Oh yeah, for
I
those who
did.
haven't
Thanks.
seen Yari, like go check them out on social media. We'll do the plug in the podcast and whatnot.
He's
But
got like a painting aging in his attic instead of him. It's like a
Yeah.
Dorian Gray. He's like a Keanu Reeves Dorian Gray situation. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. I was born in the eastern part of Finland, next to the Russian border. Small town, pretty basic childhood. Did my military service there in Border Guard Ranger Regiment, and then moved to Helsinki, the capital area, to to my studies. And I studied in Helsinki School of Economics, so I'm the numbers guy, and started my career in a retail. And nowadays I'm a CEO of Varusteleka, which is a Finnish military and outdoor gear company. So that's kind of my life in brief. And I live in countryside. We have a small horse ranch with my wife, and 3 horses, 4 dogs. I love shooting, combat sports, doing all the crazy stuff in out in the wild. And yeah, that in a nutshell.
Varusteleka makes some pretty good stuff too. We were at that event you guys hosted on SHOT Show, which was
Oh,
incredible, by the way.
Thank
Everyone who didn't go to that, who was like, "Oh, I was going to go to that," I'm like, "Yeah, you missed out. It was probably the single greatest
yeah,
fucking event of SHOT Show, like for real."
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
you were at that too, right, Nathan?
Yes, I was.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
No, that was
I
so
was
for
going to say
people
we
who.
we hung out there.
Oh, that's right. Okay, there was, there's a lot of chaos in that week.
yeah. It is.
Believe it or not, too, I'm always sober that time. The fact that like any of you guys can remember what happens while also being fucked up out of your minds is incredible. But but no, the event was really cool.
Yeah,
Varus Staleka hosted with some other people this like I can only explain it as like Bioshock, like an
yeah.
interactive Bioshock adventure, like
Like it wasn't even a
literally
bar; it
being
was like a maze, like
yeah, it
an
was like a
experience.
spirits. It was like a spirits distillery, like speakeasy, and it was a maze of all these super cool events, and everything was really comprehensive. That was an incredible thing.
Yeah,
Jack's, my guy was one of the lucky ones who won one of your mannequins as a grand
Yeah.
prize of like gear, and most of the stuff doesn't really fit him. It fits me, so it became my gear a lot of
Yeah.
it. But he actually just wore the plate carrier at our class we were just at over this
Yeah.
weekend,
that's
and I
awesome.
had on the big oh shit, what's the name of it? I don't remember. It's like a wool. You like the wool like tactical jacket.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, we love it. And it was like we were out in the mountains, and it was the most bipolar fucking weather this weekend. It was rain, snow, like would literally dump like half an inch of snow,
Yeah.
melt off, be sunny, and then it's snowing again. It was wild, and this all happened within like the hours that we were out there just during the day. And I was like,
Yeah.
got my Varusteleka jacket. We're set.
Well, that's the weather where the gear is done. Like because we have a lot of fall weather here, and all our gear what we design is to work in harsh conditions. So good to hear that it helped you to go through the course.
Yeah, it holds up well. I mean, I did a
Yeah.
lot of like, standing around some spots, and I'm just like, all
Yeah.
right, no, we're set.
Yeah,
What is it,
I would
Jack?
imagine like in Finland. Finland's winters are kind of famous. I got a question, kind of like semi-related. You mentioned you did your military service before you moved to Helsinki. Is it mandatory military service in Finland?
Yes. So it's mandatory for guys, and it's voluntary for females. And you usually, when you turn 18, you are getting your orders, and then you are doing your service, like usually before you go to the university or continues your studies or something. So it's a 1 year active duty, and then you stay in the reserves. If you are like ordinary grunt or non-commissioned officer, you are staying in the reserves until you are 50, and the officers are staying until they are 60. And of course, it depends a lot of your MOS, that how much of the reserve training you get. But yeah, that's our system, because we don't. It's kind of we're a small country, so we don't have money to have a separate army, and that way we can have enough manpower that if Russia decides to try it again to invade us, that we can beat their asses. But yeah, that's the system, and I think it's a great part of our society because everybody's more or less going through, at least majority of the age class is going through the same pipeline. So it creates that equal base for society, that it doesn't matter if you are rich or dumb or smart or fat or kind of weak, strong, you still go through that pipeline, and you can see the differences in like people's background, and you appreciate more like the on what type of starting points people are coming. And I think that's a great benefit of the kind of the service model what we have. You get lifetime friends, like the guys I did my service, I still kind of, they're my friends even though we have been assigned to the different units nowadays. um, you learn valuable skills like shooting, survival, whatever your MOS is kind of needing. For example, they are training the people to drive the heavy equipment, so you get the kind of the driving license for ridiculously kind of complex machines what you can use in your civilian life. So yeah, that's our system, and I think it's a great part of our society as an
Yeah.
institution.
I was going to ask about that. Like, it sounds like it has a really positive effect. It seems that countries that integrate some form of mandatory service like that often have a better appreciation for, well, I guess just what it means to have the privileges that you do. I often wish that America had that, because I feel like there's when you say this, pipeline of people coming in and learning different experiences and having to struggle together. Like, those are suffering is really important. Like,
Yeah,
suffering is an important thing that people have forgotten to do in spoiled societies. And seeing a military structure like that, I think a lot of people really, I know many people take that for granted, what
yeah,
that means. And I really wish America had something mandatory like that. It doesn't have to be, you're one of the cool kids going overseas, but it's like, in a country this big, there's so much to fucking do. It blows my
yeah,
mind that our military doesn't make that mandatory, to be like, yeah, no,
yeah,
you need to serve at least 4 years. It can be National Guard, it could be anything. Like,
yeah,
people can just stand around or do something or help something. It would be so much better, I think, for the economy and just for character building overall.
yeah,
I feel just kind of like, well, you know where my politics are, which are kind of all over the place. I feel super strange about that coming kind of over here, but at the same time, like, I agree with you in the fact that I do think as a whole it would be a net benefit, just like something. I've said it all the time too. Like, you should work some menial job, no matter who you are, once. My worry's always been like, in terms of especially the American government making things mandatory, they always have a habit of fucking it up basically as bad as they possibly can. And like, the further west you go, I mean, like, basically every government. I totally understand like Finland and a lot of the countries that usually border hostile nations. It's sort of a mutually assured
mm,
destruction kind of thing. But that being said, like, if I threw my compunctions out about especially like the evil empire forcing its own citizens in what to do, which I don't think is Finland, obviously, um, then I do think you're right, and there would be a net benefit to it.
yeah. I think the comparison between the US and Finland is it's not that straightforward because
Yeah,
our geopolitical situation is different.
Yeah.
Like we're such a small country, and also like here we actually, even though our governments sucks as well, but we're more prone to think that okay, we are this small nation and we can get it working together, that there is not that much of the distrust to the government because
yeah,
You're
we're
closer.
yeah we're
yeah,
the government is closer. It's we have a multiple kind of political parties. We're actually having our parliament elections coming in a few weeks, and I think it's not as polarized as in US, and kind of at least what I can see as an outsider. So in that sense, the distrust the government is not that strong. Of course, we have that, but I think it's more moderate here.
Yeah.
You prove a good point about, being smaller. A lot of people will talk about, like, oh, well, Switzerland does this in their roads. I'm like, yeah, Switzerland's like the size of one of our baby states. Like we have,
Yes.
if all of Europe was the exact, like under the same, regiment and government, that would be more comparable. But in
Yeah.
that same note, like as far as something mandatory, we already have that and it's school. So it's like, if you're going to have school and you're going to encourage people to do that, it's like, why not? I don't know. I really believe in some kind of fostering usefulness because we live in a society. We live in a society.
We
Um,
live in a
but
society
we
for the
live
greater good.
in a society now, and I think we've talked about this on other podcasts formerly. It's just we allow and enable people to be effectively fucking useless and just exist. You don't have to be able to do anything, and part of that is people also being afforded not being afforded the room to understand that they are capable of doing something. Like people now saying like, I don't know what I want to do, or I don't have any skills. And it's like, well, you're sitting at home all day playing video games, just, chugging fucking energy drinks and eating shit food and then wondering why you feel terrible. Like if there was a little bit more of something where I was like, hey, look, here are your options. You can do more of this. I don't know. It's hard
Yeah.
because it is a tightrope. It is a fine line to walk between like mandatory government anything, but it's also like, well, there was this experiment done called Universe 25, and it was about different generations of mice, and it was I need to look up the actual dates and stuff of when it was done, but it was done some
Oh,
years ago.
I
I think
know
we were just
exactly what you're
talking
talking
about this
about.
the other
Yeah.
night, Nathan,
Yeah,
on stream actually,
we were.
but it's a generation of rats were given, or mice, I don't remember which one, were
Yeah.
given unlimited food, water, and shelter. Within a few short generations where they weren't scavenging, right, trying to find what they needed to find and mate to survive,
Mm.
when they lost that, they became hedonistic, masturbatory, sedentary, because they didn't need to try anymore. So
Yeah.
we have all of these very modern solutions for very old vices, right?
Yeah.
So our vices of things like wanting to belong or wanting to mate or whatever is now like Tinder and social media,
Yeah.
right? They're there in our lizard brain. It's like I think Ted Kaczynski, talks about this, being
Yeah.
like about
He
how,
does.
guys who want to go hunting or do these things, like you're trying to tickle that inner lizard brain, that desire to do a thing, but it's not really the real thing. It's a caricature of what it once was. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where we are now. And it's hard to be like, without hitting a big red reset button, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a conversation a little while ago. I spent a little bit of well, I got, and this is going to be a terrible, mostly unrelated example. I got dragged by my friend to the Dominican Republic. Just I think it was September, and we drove through a village, and it was poor, and we had a tour guide with us saying, yeah, what you see here, it seems like people are struggling, but there's no crime. Everyone gets along. You want someone to take care of your kid while you do something, everyone in the village will do it. There was a real sense of community and harmony, and the one of the guys that I went with, just my friend's father actually, just looks at me and says, we have it so well where we're from. It's such a pity that people have to live in these conditions. Whereas in my mind, I was thinking, no, I think adversity actually helps create community a lot of the time. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
these people really appreciate what they have, and I guarantee their numbers for like mental illness, suicide, depression, things like that are dwarfed by ours.
Yeah.
And I don't quite know how we got onto this train from military
It's
service,
the
but
nature of the podcast.
Yeah.
Here we are.
exactly. It's we just fucking talk.
Yeah.
You bring up that point though of like people being adversity does grow strength, right? It's even true. It's proven that people who go through a traumatic experience, like couples or like friendships, like if they go through something really fucking traumatic together, the likelihood of them separating or falling off as friends decreases dramatically because psychologically there's a connection with that. It's like I've had friends from all over the place. I remember talking to a guy who was from Lebanon, and he came here to work in the US some years ago, doing tech as many people do from, the eastern portion of the world to come to the US. And he was saying how I live in the Seattle area, and he was saying how, yeah, it's crazy how in Seattle, like he's like, I've had my car broken into so many times. He's like, but I'm from, a poor country, and I could leave my laptop in a cafe and come back to it and it would still be there. He goes, in here where there's so much, people keep taking, and it's really crazy. We were just talking about culture differences, and that kind of blew my mind, because you'd think, you hear these things and have these perceptions of like, third world countries being these shitholes of crime and whatever, and it's like they are. But as one of my other friends had told me, who'd immigrated here some time ago in the early 2000s, he was just like, yeah, America is still a third world country. It's just polished really fucking well. So you don't always know. It's like, yeah, we still have places that are left over from disasters from Hurricane Katrina that happened
Yeah.
years and years and years ago, or even Hurricane Sandy or Hurricane Harvey. Like, just because the news isn't talking about them doesn't mean that
Yeah.
they don't exist. Or like Ohio now is, after the fucking train crashed and that, like, people are fucking dying, animals are dying, water is poisoned. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
Flint, Michigan ever got their water. Like, we have a
Yeah.
lot of shit and
Philadelphia
corruption.
just issued an alert saying don't drink the tap water because a small amount of water from the river may have contaminated their drinking supply.
Yeah.
That's kind of like looking on a perspective from a Finnish perspective. You're like a freaking whole continent. So like
Yeah.
that, you have to have. I think it's unrealistic and to think, as you said, that such a large country with such a diverse landscape, people, all that could be like a Switzerland or Finland. It just, like, I think it's a matter of numbers looking from outside, like, because you have such a great volume, you can have all kinds of things, but at the same time, you, of course, things should be on a certain level.
The upside to that is the fact that because we're so big, because we're so vast, because we were kind of founded, like, our culture in and of itself is rebellion. Like,
Yeah.
America, like, if there's nothing else that this culture has, we are the culture of rebellion. Every way you look at it. Like, maybe
Yeah.
even nowadays it's weird where rebellion is associated with political compliance, or
Yeah.
like, rebellion might be associated now with like, yeah, fuck the government, or yeah, the government, do what they say. It's bizarre, like, how people associate with that, but like, rebellion is probably the maybe the essence of
Yeah.
the American religion, as it were. Like, so I see that. I think that that's really awesome that
Yeah.
we have that. It does
Yeah,
allow
it
for
is.
a lot of freedom. Like, it's one thing where, to escape to another place, quote unquote, it's not that hard to do. We're not as tight, between borders and states. Like,
Mhm.
probably to go, I don't know what that's like though. Like, if someone's in Finland and they want to like escape to Germany, like, there's probably a lot more border insecurity around
No,
like
no,
that
it's
situation.
we're in European Union, so inside the EU you can move freely. So it's kind of comparable that the European states, which are part of the EU, kind of form the individual states. So I could go fairly easily to Sweden or Germany or Denmark or whatever. Of course, there's a different language, different customs, so the spectrum is much more larger than going from I don't know, from Arizona to California or vice
Yeah.
versa. But yeah.
I mean, there is still some nuances in that, though. Like, if you go to California versus somewhere in the middle of the deep South, you're going to have very different conversations with people.
Yeah.
There are those sections of, Seattle is can be a culture
Mhm.
shock to some
Yeah.
people. So there is that. We might not have as many. We have a lot of languages here for sure, but I guess our dialects can be pretty crazy. I've definitely talked to some people from either Oakland, who, like, the
Yeah.
Ebonics was so thick
Yeah.
literally couldn't understand them, or from the deep South where someone starts speaking from
Yeah.
Alabama and I don't, it's like Boomhauer from fucking
Yeah.
like, I don't
Ah,
But
even
that,
know.
but that's like when we have visited United States, and it's always great to be there. It's really interesting to see your way of life and all that stuff. But like we have only seen the fraction of your country, mostly Nevada, Arizona, some Utah, and my previous job I was mostly working in East Coast, like New York, Boston. But there's so much like that it's hard to comprehend from this side of the globe and from a small country, that we are not talking about this unified United States. It's like all the states, the counties, the smaller communities can vary so much, like and that's really fascinating for me, because if I go to, well, in Finland, if I would have something totally different experience, I would need to go to the Lapland or totally on the west coast, and then it would be just a minor like detail in customs and where the people talk and what they eat, but they're like the scale is so huge.
I think it's kind of awesome though in that way. Just the fact that there is so much. I mean, it's frustrating. I think that's why so many of us feel so strongly about the way we do about America. Like either like level of extreme, like whether it's extreme either end of whatever political spectrums are being represented at the time. I feel like whoever is there in their heart, even if misguided, are still trying to preserve like that concept of
Yeah,
rebellion and freedom.
yeah,
It's just how they see rebellion and freedom, and that's what
yeah,
gets a little bit crazy. Is my
yeah.
definition and your definition are different a lot. But how does that like work in? Well, I mean, America, for what it's worth, is just as I guess Canada is kind of comparable in size, but Canada just has a bunch of land that nobody fucking wants. It's like Russia in some parts. You're just like it's just a bunch of fucking freezing wilderness that you
Yeah.
can't do anything with large mammals that will kill you.
No, it's like you walk too far in any direction, the possibility of getting killed by either a wildcat or like a skinwalker, it's very high.
This week's episode is brought to you by returning sponsor of the Art and War podcast, FieldSeats.com. FieldSeats.com is an e-commerce federally licensed firearms dealer. They provide virtual reviews on brand new firearms, optics, and gear, where at the end of the review, you are automatically entered with purchase of a review to win the item being reviewed.
Currently, they've got reviews up from $20 for a brand new Smith & Wesson M&P Shield 2.0 to $60 for a brand new Trijicon ACOG with an RMR on it. Each review has limited seating, so your chances of winning the giveaway are that much higher. I have to lean into it. I have to. It's a pun.
God. Check out FieldSeats.com to purchase your review and enter to win the item being reviewed. And use code CBRN, that's Charlie Bravo Romeo November, to get 10% off your order.
Be sure to also check out their Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at @field_seats for updates on the products and other tips and info like how to pack a ruck or how to gas your rifle.
Once again, use code CBRN to receive 10% off your entire purchase at FieldSeats.com. Terms and conditions apply. How's it going, lads and ladies? BR and Nathan here to take a quick break to tell you about our Patreon. Not only do we want to continue improving the quality of what we can do here on Art and War, but we want to push what we do all over at Seaburn Art, from the guides to pursuing video content and keeping us warm during another winter of illness and death, and the Patreon helps us get after it.
But what's in it for you? Our Patreon subscribers enjoy 5 different tiers of exclusive perks, ranging from all the content we'd post on a pre-Zuckerberg Instagram, downloadable high-resolution guides, targets such as Redcoat Skinwalkers, John Harvey Kellogg, seasonal targets, and more. Behind-the-scenes info like my personal art, introducing all new exclusive mini-podcast episodes, and at our highest tier, get monthly art commissions created by yours truly.
You can find our Patreon via the link in this episode's description, at patreon.com/SeaburnArt, or in the Seaburn Art page's bio on Instagram. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the show.
Dude, there's some real haunted shit though. I'm gonna be real. Like, there's this place. I don't know if you've heard of it, Yari. It's called Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh,
A little Google search will anyone else
Okay.
listening to this, like just go on a little Google search. There's better documentaries than others. There's a YouTube guy who does what's his name? He reads like stories out loud. Anyway, there's a YouTube story reader who does a good job in it. But basically, it's a ranch that was so fucking paranormal that literally a team of NASA like scientists came out and studied it, and they were like, yeah, we didn't find anything after being there for like what 10 years and then leaving. Only it's weird. Like it's
Okay.
fucking weird, the shit that happened there. It's all from like stories of everyone being there with the scientists, having the cameras fuck up, and like whole cattle being randomly just teleported to other places. Like, how the fuck did they get in this shed that we've never accessed before and it was locked from the outside? Someone would have had to move it, or being outside and suddenly an animal just dies and it was there and it's like all of its organs are removed randomly, like cattle mutilation stuff. Is
And this
crazy.
is in Canada.
No, this is in the
No.
US.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was already like, hey, there is some dark side of the Canadians, what I don't know, but okay.
There's got to be some cool finish. I mean, let's be honest, the whole world's fucking haunted. There's always
Yes.
crazy
Yeah.
shit. Like the Welsh are insane, like the Mary Lloyd and the fucking like all the weird pagan stuff they got going on. It's awesome, but it's also
Yeah.
terrifying.
You
I'm
ever
sure
see the movie?
what does Finland have as far as their like folklore evils?
I think we have kind of the our like what do you want to call it, like the lore book is called Kalevala, and it
Say that
has
again.
Kalevala.
Kalevala.
That's
Yes.
a made up word. That's not even a real word.
No,
I mean,
it's actually the name of the planet in Mandalorian. They have a planet called Kalevala, and it's our like the folklore book, and there are some grim stories about the how the Finland was created and all crazy shit going on, people killing each other and their babies and sacrificing them, and stealing the maidens from next village, and you know the basic stuff.
Yeah.
um,
The
and
basics.
yeah, and it's it's actually a pretty cool book, and some of the kind of the events are actually, you can find it from Tolkien took a lot of out of that to kind of Lord of the Rings, like some of the language what the elves are speaking and all that stuff. But yeah, that's a kind of the basis of Finnish folklore, and there was this guy who was called Väinämöinen, and he was this kind of like mystical figure, but badass warrior, like beard, strong, but he could cast a spell and kind of fight. And yeah, it's a pretty cool character, and you can see that a lot in kind of in the Finnish paintings and all that stuff. But like really like a haunted house stuff. I think every community has some of the places where there are like really weird stories. Um, Usually they are related to some forest that some crazy stuff happens, or lakes, because we have a plenty of lakes. So you can almost from every village or town or wherever, you can find the lake where kind of every 30 years some dies there, or there are mysteries that the fisherman has kind of vanished, and that's those are the stories what you hear when you're a kid and kind of going outside camping, and then your uncle or father or somebody starts telling those stories about that particular lake. And yeah.
so every country's got its Nessie. Their Loch
Yeah.
Ness. Their
Yes.
Loch Ness Bay. Like she out there, she eating fishermen and fucking with the locals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every country's got its like wet skinwalkers, I guess. What would you
Yeah.
even?
Yeah. Everything's got to there's got to be some like swamp monster in Finland.
Yeah.
Like there's got to be like the haunted sauna monster.
um it's actually in saunas, like there's a lot of different tales about the saunas, but the one belief is that we have the sauna elves, or like living on underneath the sauna structures, and they are usually good nature if you respect the sauna and behave well. But if you do dumb shit, then they might kill you and rip you apart or cast a kind of a bad fortune on you. And that's kind of how the kids are raised up in here, that you need to be kind of in sauna. It's kind of the place where you clean up and you spend time there, but you shouldn't be too rowdy or impolite, or you need to respect the sauna. And that is usually what is told to the kids, that hey, you need to behave or sauna elves will come and rip your eyes away or something like.
It's
I
it's so
love European folklore so
I
much. It goes
know,
so
like
hard.
in America, it's like, okay, if you're not good, this Santa Jesus will bring you black rocks. But like in Germany, they're like, Schwarzepita will beat you with
Yeah,
a whip of thorns in the snow. Like they
yeah,
Yeah,
literally,
we
he'll
because that's,
drag you by chains with
yeah, like
chains to hell.
Black
yeah,
Santa, it's literally Schwarzepita, like Black
yeah,
Santa. Like
yeah,
it
yeah,
literally comes out, and it's not the Krampus. The Krampus is different, but
yeah,
Schwarzepita will literally beat you with a fucking
yeah,
whip of thorns in the snow. And it's like, here, maybe we just need more fucked up like child stories to like keep
yeah,
people in line. You know, like maybe we just don't have enough of that in America. Like if you're not good, you know, the cowboy stallion will take your virginity. Like you have to
yeah,
be, you know,
yeah,
we need something because no one's listening. You know, you guys have all this ancient, you know, history, awesome shit to back up, and we got natives and stuff. But you know, a lot of their things
Yeah,
are more just like, yeah, animals fuck with you. There's not really like the vengeance of gods. We
yeah.
just
You,
kind of,
yeah,
you don't have like the littering elves come and they beat you to death.
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
We have like tornadoes and like earthquakes and stuff, which is pretty wild. I can imagine sometimes every time I go somewhere like, you know, in the fucked up desert. You're just like, man, people lived here, like
yeah,
barefoot and fucking little leather houses and whatever else surviving. Like some of these plains, like there's just nothing. There's not I'm like,
yeah,
how do they do it? Like talking to Mike Grantham about like
yeah,
Arctic survival. I know he's like been on your channel and had some episodes like talking about survival and stuff, but
Yeah.
chatting about how he's like, yeah, I know if you're out somewhere really cold like that for a while, you just you start eating foods that are really fatty, and eventually your skin gets like a sebum, like a wax to protect it. I'm like, humans are amazing. How the fuck do we survive this shit?
yeah,
It's really incredible. It really is what we're actually capable of when we try. But yeah, I think
yeah,
American kids need more terrifying folklore to keep
yeah.
them going. Santa's not enough.
No,
It's
no,
not
Santa is not enough. And I think they like in a European literature, there are plenty of like the stories from Grimm and
Oh yeah.
all that. That's a good stuff. And I still kind of see nightmares when my grandmother read the stories from Grimm for me when I was
Oh, the Brothers Grimm are great.
yeah, yeah, they are awesome. And yeah, but then it's I think we have a pretty rich and kind of even though we're a small country, and we have a um, rich folklore, but it's you need to keep that up and kind of make it live, because people start to forget it in nowadays. Like it's I don't know how nowadays the grandparents or parents are they going through those, but when I was a kid, that was pretty much what I heard on campfire or wherever you hang around as a kid. It was a storytelling.
But, you know, even now, like you bring up the point of European stories being, or even stories growing up being so much different. You know, we grew up with there was the Brothers Grimm, and everything was Disneyfied, and maybe that's like
Yeah, yeah.
America's
It was like
problem.
the Four Kids dub of Grimm.
Yeah, like you
Yeah,
get like, you know, instead of the Little Mermaid getting fucked up and turning to sea foam because she was, you know, a dumb teenage cunt who fell for, you know, Ursula's tricks and didn't get what she
Yeah,
wanted. Instead, they're like, yeah, it worked out and she fucked the prince and everyone wins. And you're like, yeah,
yeah.
well,
There's
yeah,
that
no loss condition anymore.
no,
yeah,
there's no consequences. Like Japanese kids stories are the same way. I've
Yeah,
been to study Japanese, I'll read like kids stories and stuff
yeah,
sometimes, and there's one called like Sarukani, which is the monkey and the crab. And it's
yeah,
literally the story of a crab who is all stoked and he finds this persimmon and this monkey's like, I'm going to take this persimmon. And the crab's like, no, don't take my persimmon. And he's like, you can have a seed from it and plant a tree. So the crab's like, fine. So the crab plants a tree. The crab is fucking stoked because it turns into a persimmon tree. And all the other crabs come like, yay, crabs. And this monkey's like, haha, I'm going to eat these persimmons now. And the crab's like, fuck you. And then the monkey's like, I don't care. And then he kills the crab's mom or some shit. And then the crab's upset. So then the crab works with a bunch of other animals to fuck up this monkey in his house. And they all get together and like burn him in the fire and do all this shit. I'm like, man, this is a story of consequences. The story was
Yeah.
don't fuck with people.
Yeah.
Don't take
Yeah.
from others. And instead,
Yeah.
everything we have has a happy ending. And
Yeah.
I think maybe that's the crux of our culture. Like,
Maybe
things
that's
work
why
out.
kids. Everything needs to be Marvel. Everything needs to be Disneyfied.
Yeah, just the concept of a happy ending. Like, bad shit happens, and it's just sometimes okay to not be okay. Like, we don't process trauma well in America because we're almost taught that trauma is something that we shouldn't be exposed to. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, like that's good shit. Go
Yeah.
get your hands in the dirt. Like, get in a fight. You know what that's like.
Yeah. Oh God, can you imagine like what the folktales of tomorrow are going to be like? Like what the next generation is going to be teaching their kids in terms of like Aesop's fables and the Grimm's fairy tales? It's like, all right, you better eat your Soylent drink, or Bill Nye the Science Guy is going to take away your marbles. I don't know. Take away your Fortnite too.
Yeah.
Just tell kids, once upon a time in America, people went to these places called universities, and they came out with their hair cut short, dyed blue, and with insane BMIs, beyond comprehension, brainwashed from all the things that actually meant anything to believe in the institution. They're like, no, grow up in some Mad Max world. Where we're
Good
headed.
ending.
That's where we're headed. Now, I really think, though, maybe it's like how many grown men I've met who haven't been in a fight. Like, you meet people and you can talk to them, and sometimes you can just tell. Like, there's guys I met and I'm like, you've never been in a fight, have you? And they're like, oh, I'm like, no, I can. Like, you can tell the difference between someone who's been punched in the face or punched someone in the face.
Yeah.
Both hurt.
Yeah.
Newsflash. You've never punched someone in the fucking face. It fucking hurts. You want to know what it feels like? Punch a wood beam as hard as you. Like, that's bone. Like, you're hitting bone and bone. Like,
Yeah.
that shit sucks too. They both hurt. It's like martial arts. I've been teaching martial arts now for a while and practicing for almost 9 years. And
Yeah, you have a little dojo now, don't you?
I do. I
Yeah.
built it in here, actually. It was kind of cool to
Yeah.
have made something like that with my own hands. And I practice here a lot. And I'm really passionate about it. But like, fighting is really fucking important. It's the basis of what we, teach. It's very,
Yeah.
very traditional Japanese and Chinese fighting forms. And it's just sort of like taking the amalgamation of practical things like groundwork, hitting. You need to know how to do those things. It's like, oh, it's cool if it looks cool. But if it doesn't actually work, who
Yeah.
fucking cares?
Yeah.
You see people and you're just like, I think there's just some people I see and I'm like, you just need to get hit in the face.
Yeah, I think it was actually a few weeks ago talking with my friends, and we were like remembering the times when we were kind of in a high school and kind of a bit younger than high school, and then in a high school, like fighting was almost everyday matter. Like we fought a lot, and it's funny, like it wasn't anything evil. It was just like way to let the steam out and get a bit of the big mix it up, and like we were all friends, but still we punched each other on faces. And when we lived in a small town, it was like really funny. And this is pre cell phones, pre any like digital things. Like we went to the neighboring town to fight, and it's a fair fight. We went to some parking lot. There were the local guys. Then we mixed it up.
The fight
And-
club, local fight
Yeah,
club.
yeah.
That's so fucking
Nice.
awesome.
and then on the next week, everybody had the bruised lips and like black eyes when we went back to school, and it was like just
Just boys
it was
being boys.
it was
Yeah.
really stupid. It was really stupid, but somehow it was fun. Like
It's like mosh pit culture. Like, I
Yeah.
have never met a metalhead. Like, for the most part, like, most metal people are really chill and they all fucking love dogs, and it's because they go to pits and they beat the shit out of each other. Like,
yeah,
Jax was really big into the like hardcore punk rock scene. So he
Yeah.
grew up like in Tucson, Arizona, like putting on shows as well as being a part of them, was in
Yeah.
like a metal band. And like, he lights up. We go to some metal concerts. He's just like, let's fucking go.
That
But
tracks.
it's so, yeah,
You just look at him and it tracks.
it's wholesome. I'm like, you know what? This is like, I wish I had that when I was a teenager. Like I grew
Yeah.
up, I definitely was a little scrappy. I had some fisticuffs more than a handful of times, both outside my league and within it. Um, but that being said, something about like having that culture, the freedom to just like beat on each other in good spirits. Like it's much different for women, right? Like I grew up
Yeah.
having some friends that I wanted to spar with, and going toe to toe with other females, it often bred a lot of conflict. I came up in a very male dominant family, and I had to learn. I think the first time it really hit me hard. Like I was always kind of roughhousing. Kids do that. I ran with the boys. I'm sure it doesn't surprise you. But I was my dad's the oldest in the family of several brothers and then a baby sister. And so when I was born, all my uncles were my big brothers. They were teenagers. And I'm the oldest of all of the cousins, like 30 some odd fucking younger cousins in the family, like big family. But with that, I learned really quickly kind of the dynamics of things. Like there's just a way men conduct themselves. I learned very quickly consequence. Like my uncles would be telling me, hey, don't fuck with that. And I'd fuck with it. And then I'd get, murked. And I was like, okay, well, I learned, don't do that. And I think I'm better for it. Learning consequences that way early on and being self-aware of like where you actually stand. There's something that develops called respect. And when I was 9, I got in a fight with this fifth grader, Lena. We had some beef. I don't remember what it was about, but I was like, okay, we'll just square up. And we did. I've always been small, but like, I waxed her and we had our little scuffle and I felt good about it. And then I go to the principal's office. I was more afraid that my dad was going to beat my ass. So I was like, no, fuck him. He knows I went to the principal's office. Like, this doesn't happen to me. Like, I'm the good kid. But we had gotten in fisticuffs. And afterwards, I went to shake her hand because it was like, we've established who's stronger. Now we know where each of us are standing in the pecking order so we can be friends. And that was not the case. I had to learn you can't punch faces and shake hands in the girl world. That's what I hit her on.
Okay.
This doesn't translate the same, but there's something about that camaraderie of being able to fight like that freely, which is really special. And it's not something I say very often. Anyone has heard me, rant about my very honest feelings of the things I share gender with. There's a creed that exists where, men can fight among men, but like for a man to fight a woman, it's taught very differently. There's always going to be some level of people being hesitant that I face. So even sparring, I feel like I don't often get an honest response from someone. So I have to say a lot in class, like you're teaching. I'm like, you think you can fucking like hit me? Like, no, if you're telling me that you have to stop your punch, it means that you don't think that I'm capable of blocking it. Like honest punches, honest blocks. I need to be able to honestly block what it is that you're hitting, or you're not being fair to either of us. And so that's frustrating for me a lot, where I have a hard time finding people who are willing to spar with me in an honest sense. But I do have some friends who are like, oh, fuck yeah, I'll beat the shit out of you. I'm like, great, small woman, I'll probably lose. I anticipate that, but I still want to see how I stack up. And if I don't have an honest understanding of how I stack up in those instances, how the fuck am I going to know what I'm actually capable of?
I respect that, actually. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because guys really do. They skirt around and they get that. They're like, oh, I can't, even in the mosh pit, or as Jax would say, no clit in the pit. You get girls in there who are like compensators who are like, yeah, I'm tough. And then there's still guys who are like, oh, be careful. They can't get in them to naturally white knight. I'm like, I'm fine being on the edge of the circle. I'll observe. I know my place. But it's still awesome. Like, I'd love to be a part of that like element, but it is tough to get an honest exposure to that, because women too innately lack the ability to be positively competitive. When women compete, it's a really fucked up, angry competition. Like when men compete, yeah, it can be that way, but 90% of the time, I feel like there's an understanding, like they know their place, and there's a welcoming of an exchange. For women, it's like a weird like beating, and then if it doesn't work, like, oh, fuck her, she got the guy or the thing or whatever, and you're like, oh, god damn it, like learn how to lose. Win humble, lose with grace.
Yeah.
My mind jumps to just you, looking for sparring partners that'll actually, throw a punch at you. trying to bribe homeless drug addicts on the streets of Seattle with I don't know, rotisserie chickens.
What?
Yeah.
When the fuck was this?
No, I mean it's possible.
Oh, I thought you
It
said
never
you did. I'm
happened,
like,
but it's an
what?
idea. You can do it. You
No,
can
like,
steal that one.
look, I come from a real tweaker town where like I literally walked around. I don't know how I made it in my life in Eureka for as long as I did. It was such a shithole. For anyone who doesn't know about Eureka, California, it's
It's
a
pity
beautiful
for
place
you know.
full of heinous people, one of the highest crime rates per capita in the US. If you've watched that documentary Murder Mountain, it's way worse than that, I promise. It's fucked up. It's a fucked up place. But anyway, I'd be at work, you get tweakers coming up, talking to you, trying to put hands on you. I literally carried around rubber gloves and wore my glasses, or if I had my contacts in, I always had a pair of like safety glasses and like a change of clothes, because there were so many incidences where I apprehended a thief, or like I was in the store and someone got violent and I was the one who could act, and I like had to do a quick measuring up, like, okay, yeah, I can take this guy. He's fucked out of his mind. You don't mess with like amphetamine strength. Like when someone's high on meth and they're just going nuts, like a bullet literally won't take them down. So I'm like, all right, we're going to dodge that one. But if you get like your old crazy drunk, you can usually sweep the leg and, put a couple blows to the head and they're fine. But that being
Jesus
said,
Christ, Paige.
tweakers have, a propensity to carry diseases. They're like rats.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't want to get Hep C or AIDS or whatever the fuck else that they're carrying, because you don't know what that is. So like I had to wear gloves. So it was like if someone came in that I knew I had to deal with, I would just like pull rubber gloves out of my purse or my pocket and be like, okay, like now we have gloves on so I can hit you, but you don't want to like hit them in the mouth because you don't want to like put your knuckles on their teeth and get like their blood. Like if you go for a fight, you have to test for a bunch of these things before they make you test for all these different bloodborne diseases and shit.
Yeah.
That's how you get the ick.
I've had my fair share of like tweaker fights. I don't know how I made it that long.
I did not expect this. I don't know why. I think we've talked about this in general, but I don't know why. I've never actually pictured you fighting tweakers.
It's more like I don't go looking for trouble. Like there are several instances where, for example, I'm at Safeway with a friend. They're open 24/7 at this time. This is I don't know how many years ago. And one of my favorite cashiers is this sweet older lady. And they have someone there who's stealing, right? And it's, I don't know, fucking midnight, 1:00 in the morning. You've got your day walkers there at nighttime, all like chewing on air in their little like crab scuttly little group over there at the tables outside. And then there's always these weird posses of just like icky people. But in the store, there's this guy who is stealing from the store. Whatever, some people steal. You're like, it's really just not worth it to stop them. But my favorite cashier is there, this little old lady, and she's standing by the door, and they are not allowed to put their hands on anybody. She's just standing by the exit. She has to put her hands behind her back because in California, you get sued for these things. And I watch him shove her, run into the exit door, so like it doesn't open from that side. And I'm like, oh hell no. I just look and I see this commotion, and he comes out. And I mentally sized him up pretty quick. He was real light, probably not even 130 pounds soaking wet, like 5'7". So definitely had a head on me. But when they're gangly like that, and he looked drunk, not high.
Paige,
so when
you did an ocular pat down.
What's that?
An ocular pat down.
Yeah, it's just like, well, you can see in their behaviors. Like it wasn't like tweaker maneuvers. It was like the slow, like sleep. It wasn't. Heroin can kind of do that too, but he just looked like fucking like stumbly. So he like, shoves her, and I'm like, oh hell no. Then he comes out, and as he comes out, like I caught him mid stride, I clotheslined him, and so he's down. I'm like in a fucking skirt because we're out somewhere. So I'm like trying not to be like, okay, I'm not gonna like, flash everyone here. So I'm like, I clothesline him. I'm getting him choked out. I have him on the ground where I'm like sitting on his back. I have his arm behind him, and then I've like got an elbow in his throat. So he's like almost out. And then this guy finally decides to jump in and help, because it's like, there wasn't like a huge struggle. He wasn't someone who's overpowering me. I don't think he knew what was happening. And so this other guy comes out, and there's bystanders like recording this. And then he decides to be, I'm going to help this person, and just starts steel-toed boot, like kicking this guy in the face.
Oh.
And I just like, get off. I'm like, homie, look, I was just going to detain the dude. Now you got blood everywhere. Like, this is, like, goddamn. So I just like got up at that point. I think his fate, I think the guy kicked out a couple of his teeth. And then by then the cops came, and he's like, oh, do you want to press charge? I'm like, no, there's not. What are you going to do? I'm like, he's going to be at the In-N-Out. for what we called our local jail, get booked, be released
Yeah.
or something. I'm like, he just seems like some drunk asshole. And they're like, oh God, thank you so much. And all he was doing was stealing like fifths of vodka, sprinting out of the store. Who fucking cares about alcohol? But I'm like, I just didn't like the fact that he shoved someone that I liked.
Yeah.
Those kinds of incidences have
That's
happened at a few local establishments,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It's a pity in a place called Eureka. That really we're starting to get meth crime up here as well. Like it's finally spilling north of the
The
border.
fentanyl is creeping up.
Yeah.
That's
Fentanyl is in everything.
that's
What's
a
like
big
in Finland?
big difference. Like here, of course, we have bad neighborhoods and misbehaving people, and alcohol is a big problem in Finland. People are pretty heavy drinkers, but the the trucks are still fairly moderate. Of course, in larger cities and bad neighborhoods, you have those, but the level of like truck related stuff is like still fairly moderate here. Like in grand scheme of things, that if you're an ordinary person and if you go even the shittiest location in Helsinki, you're not getting in a situation where some meth induced person is trying to rip you apart, or like that's, I think, is a big difference, like what we see here um, in a crime, and like at least what I've seen and heard, that it can be really bad in some of the neighborhoods over there.
Yeah, it's something I'm not really used to. Last time I was in Idaho, they kind of told me to watch for it, and people do drugs here, in Canada, but it's not. At least it didn't used to be the same. At least where I am, you didn't hear about meth tweakers, rolling up into a place and looting it like you do
Yeah.
in the States.
What does a bad neighborhood look like in Finland? Like, if you're like, this is a bad neighborhood, what's that look like?
Like a bunch of gangs in like Lederhosen.
No, it's
They all have really nice hair and they're buff as fuck.
I think the bad neighborhood looks like fairly good suburban, or like the housing project area, which is fairly clean, but you have some shady people there. Like we don't have a shanty towns or anything like that. It's fairly okay and it's hard to distinguish when you go like in around the Helsinki, but usually it's like crappy mall, some housing project, and like few bars, and then there are like local criminals are doing their stuff, but criminals in Finland are pretty okay. They tend to keep to themselves and not to bother like normal people. Like when I say bad neighborhood, I think it's fairly okay as compared if you would say bad neighborhood or a Brazilian would say the bad neighborhood. They are not on the same scale.
Yeah, no, it sounds wild. Like here, we got lots of bad. There's just spots where like we just have 1 mag and 2 mag neighborhoods. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, is this a 1 mag or a 2 mag neighborhood?
Yeah.
We're just
Do you carry the T-Rex fucking ready rig with just full of...
Dude, my ready rig, I did a concealed class where like I have a Filster Enigma holster, which I fucking love.
I love
anyone
mine.
listening. It's the best. I love it.
Yeah.
You can cant the angle of it to fit it in any way. Anyway,
I like the fact I can wear it with shorts,
Yeah, I wear it a lot with and I'm sure Nathan relates this too. I wear it a lot with dresses and skirts,
Yeah.
So
yes, all my time spent wearing dresses. It fits under my lederhosen well.
Yeah.
I got good with it. Like as far as like clearing it, like my draw time and stuff's really good from it.
Yeah.
But I will literally carry an extra mag just in my fucking bra, like up at the top.
I think Fulster actually makes mag carriers that actually attach to the Enigma now.
I just don't like for a Glock like mag, I don't need anything else. And it's like literally it's just a high ready fucking I can easily load and unload straight. It's like having my own built-in chest carrier that no one suspects. It's great. And it just hides right next to the titty and I just poke it in. And then if I'm going somewhere, like usually it's really easy to conceal. And then I'm just able to pop it out because it's just flat enough that I can put it on the side. Yeah,
Yeah,
just tuck it in a
got
sports
a
bra.
mag in one titty, a tourniquet in the other.
Yeah, whatever.
Backup AR mag somewhere else.
Like when I go to movie theaters, I'm
Yeah.
always just like, I just pack candy in my tits, and then like no one's gonna, that's my level of white crime. Walking
Jesus.
into a theater with a bunch of candy, I'll be like, sorry, the Reese's are a little melty, but we didn't have to pay $15 for them,
Yeah.
so.
But yeah, no, I fucking love my Enigma. Totally not affiliated in any way. I just like my.
No, they're great. They're just great stuff. I
Yeah.
think I recommend it to every single chick. It was actually
Yeah.
Krugs. I don't know if you remember Krugs at all.
Yeah. Kruger's
Kruger
great.
used to be online. Yeah.
We recorded an episode once, but she was way too drunk to function, so it didn't super well.
Yeah, that was some time ago.
Yeah,
I
that
think you
was a
guys
hot minute.
both got a little saucy posse together with
Yes,
that. You
yes.
guys were like, yeah, we can't
air
do
this. This is not okay. None of this is okay.
She's still one of my favorite people, but she got really into
she's
shooting
lovely.
and was doing a lot of awesome stuff. And she had done some really honest reviews on different holsters. And there was one I ended up picking up called called Can Concealment or something. It's a garter belt, like thigh holster.
Yep.
It's actually really fucking comfortable. The only bummer is that the thigh holster it doesn't have any Kydex or anything. It's just neoprene. So
Yeah.
you need to put your own Kydex in it. What I haven't done yet is I'm just going to sew some Velcro on the inside and then put like a holster, like Velcro the holster to the inside of that neoprene sleeve, because it's really comfortable. Like,
Yeah.
and you can't, having like a 43X on the thigh, you don't fucking see it. I usually carry a 48.
I'm going to shame you again. Get an optic.
I know. I was just at
they're not expensive. Just
it's time. It's time. I know. I shoot with for what it's worth, I shoot with guns with optics a lot. So I like having my irons, though. Who knows? If I'm out somewhere in the rain or something, I'll feel confident enough to at least shoot without an optic. I think some people become really reliant on it, and it's always good to know how to do both. And I figure like I feel comfortable with irons. Like I'm an okay shot. But we know when I get an optic on there, I'm like, cool, like this is way better. We just did our shooting class, and it was a 2-day pistol and carbine course. And the first day was pistol focused. And there was some really cool shit I learned. Like you hear a lot of things, but then sometimes someone just says something in a way that clicks. And, anytime I go into something, even if there's habits I already have, I always try to do it exactly whatever the instructor's telling me to see if there's something else that I can integrate. Be like, cool, I'm going to do it how they tell me. But I ended up shooting, someone let me borrow their 19 because I didn't actually intend on taking the class, but I ended up getting roped into it and helped out a bit. But I ended up using a Glock 19, and he had a really good RMR in there, and it was just like fucking, it was easy as shit.
Yeah, optics is I think it's same with the pistol as it was with the carbines back in the day, that people were like kind of putting them against the iron sights are better or the optics are better. I think you need to train the both. You need to be proficient with the both. But I think with the optics, it helps a lot with some of the applications which might be tricky with the pistol, like weird positions and NVGs and all that stuff. It's totally game changer for that. That's something what I envy you guys, that you have so much like availability and kind of different type of courses, different type of trainers, like really first class. And that's one project what I was thinking to do sometime, to spend like, I don't know, a month, 2 months in US, and just to go course to course and kind of absorb everything, and at the same time kind of explore the country and also the gun community like on a wider spectrum, because we only see in the shot show the desert brutality, whoever friends we have, but like doing that type of the road trip, going from one training site to the another and learn, and also kind of get the better vibe of the gun culture there. That's one of the things I'm probably gonna do in some stage.
Well,
sounds incredible.
When that happens, or when it comes to that, well, you have two options. The other is you could always maybe sponsor some instructors to come out to Finland. Be like, hey,
Mm,
we will pay for your trip to come out here, but
yeah,
come hang out with us. And I bet some people would be really into that because
yeah,
that'd be interesting. And depending on, you know, I don't know how flying internationally with guns works. I know a lot of people
Oh,
do have FFLs, but if you're able to
it's not
provide
easy.
certain things, I'm sure that they'd be good to go with some stuff. But outside of that, like I think that's an outstanding idea.
yeah,
And you have enough resources. Naturally, you know, you Jax is a wealth of information. You know, you can always ask
yeah,
him. For those who don't know who I'm talking about, Jax is my pre-fiance, as he's coined it.
Yeah.
But he is the current VP of Weapon Outfitters, and he does a lot in the gun industry as far as like connecting people and just he just knows his shit. He's always like, yeah, I don't
yeah.
know. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You know everything to me. But we have a lot of connections to that. You know, after this,
Yeah,
I'm more than happy to give you who I recommend strongly.
yeah,
And of the people I do know who actually know shit, you know, far better than I, like they'll have a good opinion of like, yeah, this is kind of
yeah,
where it's at. So I'm sure Jax would be happy to do that. Or like if you want help coordinating that, like
yeah.
we're always happy to give recommendations and do that.
That's cool.
Speaking of you in the US, though, I've heard some rumors. I don't know if it's true. Are you working on making a US company headquarters at all over here?
Yeah, the rumor is true. Like,
Yes.
because the U.S. market is like 15% of our total turnover, so it's the largest foreign market we serve, and we send all our individual packages here from Finland, and that's ridiculously expensive and not
Yeah.
really efficient. But yeah, we are in process of setting up the company in U.S.
Yes.
And of course in the initial stage it's just for the sake of having the legal entity there that we can start doing the rest of the stuff, but with these volumes we already have, it would be much better to have the warehouse in US to distribute the things, because the global logistics, it's damn expensive, and
You'll
we
be
are.
able to triple your business probably easy too, because
Yeah,
so many people who can't afford the shipping or justify it will be like, oh, hell yeah, I could buy from Varusteleka in the
yeah,
US.
yeah.
Let's
So
go.
that's a kind of plan, and now we're actually in the process of. I just this morning read the legal memo from the advisor that how the things work, and the ball is rolling. It was funny, like it was years ago. I think it was either 2017 or 2018 when we were there. I think it was 2018. Yeah, we made this April's Fool joke that we filmed it in some abandoned mall close to Tucson. Ian and Carl spotted that for us, that it was a huge mall which was totally abandoned, and we made this joke that we just made the rental contract of this facility, and we are going to open the largest Varusteleka store in the world in this whatever place it was, and it was the April's Fool, and people still today are asking that how is the store doing there, and like I'm always like it was a joke, but like this way the reality and the kind of the good story intertwines, because now we're actually in the process of setting first the legal entity in the US and then proceeding from there to do something actual stuff in.
Do you have a location picked out?
Um, not yet. The companies, the Varusteleka Incorporated is probably going to be registered in Delaware,
I'm
because
gonna
they
say
have a
taxes in Delaware, baby.
taxes, and also that they're pretty smooth on the foreign investments. So compared to some other places, because
Mhm.
we don't have the kind of anyone who has the U.S. citizenship. So there they are hosting a lot of foreign companies. So that's at least where we start. But the actual location where when we are in that phase that we are actually setting up the distribution, that needs to be then analyzed and doing the network model. But what we have learned that you have a lot of good spots for the logistic solutions. So, and luckily we know a lot of the guys and girls in firearms industry, because of course we want to be somewhere where another good companies are, like
Well,
not
you let me know
ending.
how Paige can help, and you know I'm
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Pageosity is there. I know that would be, yeah, I will any way that I can, and I'm
Yeah,
yeah,
sure I
likewise.
speak for Jax, or yeah, I'm saying
yeah,
Nathan's not, he's still stuck as a Canuck, but he'll make his way down here eventually and be useful in the
yeah,
US.
I'm down there every other week now. I'm going next
yeah,
week.
All right. Now you're like, you're just hopping the border to the other spot.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Just make it happen already.
I'm running my
yeah.
car
Fuck's
into the
sake.
ground, but
Fuck's sake. Every time I talk to them, I'm like, just do it. Just get
yeah,
here. We can help with the rest. It will happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
You're gonna
yes.
make it here.
Oh, I already know. We'll talk about that later.
Good.
yeah,
Good. I'm
Yeah,
cheering for you. I'm just saying, I keep manifesting it, guys, because I just want Nathan to fucking be here already.
yeah,
yes. There's we'll talk about it afterwards. I have
Very good.
yeah,
Well, no, Yara, you don't have to overshare anything about, details.
yeah.
We don't need to pry. I'm really excited to hear that that's coming together. Do you have
Me
like a
too.
timeline for when you hope to
um,
have it open on the US side?
um, we are now currently setting up all the legal and accounting stuff and all that, and most likely that will take best part of this year, and towards the end of the year, because it's the high season, we are not doing anything kind of a major. But we have estimated that if the business continues to grow as it grows, uh, we should have something up and running like 24 25.
Ooh,
So
that is big excite.
yeah,
That's big excite. I can't wait.
yeah. So and it's kind of crazy that when we started, like the when I joined the company 2016, there was already like initial, like really small scale stuff going abroad, mostly in Europe, and some random stuff to North America. But when I started, and we made the new strategy with my team, and we looked the data that what is the biggest market in the world to military and or tactical gear and outdoors. It's North America, US and
Right.
Canada combined. It's insane. It's multi-billion dollar just for the consumers, kind of excluding all the government contracts, which is like
That's its own
another
beast.
thing. But at that time, it felt like it's crazy to start selling from Finland to US. But the more time has passed, and like it it makes perfect sense for two reasons. Like there is a demand and a lot of customer base who deserves to have the good stuff. Um, and also, if we get any progress on the US market, it will kind of radiate towards the another markets, because everybody follows the same social media, the same kind of, well, somebody from Germany is going to listen this podcast. So that's why it makes sense to put the effort on the US market. And I think that has been a kind of pretty crazy journey so far, because we literally started from zero. Like it was some tens of thousands what was annually going to US, and now we're like selling over 4 million euros to US.
Wow.
Holy crap, that's
And
amazing.
that's not just the result of inflation either. That's just
No, no, it's
volume.
it's it's like real growth. And like looking back, like it was 2017 when I was first attending the SHOT Show. Like nobody knew us. We knew nothing about how things work. Like, and nowadays we have at least a faint idea how the things work. And yeah, it's been a really really interesting.
Well, you guys have a really cool presence in the tactical world too. For like
Yeah,
listeners who aren't familiar with Varusteleka, they make good stuff, but they have good people behind it, and a lot of the
yeah,
principles and things that you guys support. It feels like a healthy company vision. You guys aren't pretending to be something you're not. There's a lot of companies I think who try to come off as more than they are in like I don't think you guys take yourselves too seriously, and I love that.
Definitely not.
I think like there's a silliness there that works, and I think that becomes a welcoming environment. You see some things and you're like, okay, it's getting tired. Some of the hyper militarized whatever,
Yeah.
like people there's definitely the larpers and stuff who like that. That's cool, and maybe some people who associate with that. Like, I'm not here to judge. It's just it's a
No.
tired concept that I think breeds a weird culture around it. But you
Yeah.
guys have such a lighthearted, fun way of doing things. I mean, I adore all of you. Every one of you I've met because I've had the pleasure of hanging out with you guys now a few
Yeah.
times at SHOT Show. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is awesome. Like, it's a great fucking time every time I've gotten to see y'all.
Yeah.
Because who came with you all last time? It was you,
Tony,
and
Jenny, and Yuri.
you're okay. Yeah, Jenny
Yeah.
was really sweet. She's
Yeah,
as cute
she's
as a
cool
button.
beans.
She's a sweet gal.
Yeah.
Tony is also great. He's kind of behind the scenes guy, but is still very prevalent within the company. Tony's a very
Yeah. Yeah.
Next thing you'll
He's
be telling us that they're all like, "Oh, like so and so is 50, Yuri's 60,
Thins, man. They got you could
something in the
just sell the
water."
elixir of life. Be like, all right, here's our diet regimen. Here's the
Yeah,
Viking
they're all going to live
diet
20 for
regimen.
the rest of their
Whatever
lives.
the fuck you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. It's but the company is kind of funny. It's it has a, like as you said, that we don't take us too seriously, even though we do the serious stuff. Many of the our products are like meant to use in real combat situation, and many of the stuff is now used in Ukraine for that purpose. But like, even though you do the tactical gear, outdoors gear, you can still have fun, and not to take yourself too serious, or the industry too serious. So we like to do the crazy stuff every now and then, and same goes to the when the products are designed. It's not like that. Hey, let's do this widget because of we want to make the certain widget or make money. Of course, we want to make money, but there's needs to be a reason behind we do something. So most of the products what we have in our assortment has been coming from our staff, that hey, I have this problem on a field, I want to fix it. Hey, let's do this type of thing. Most of the products have been, the initial idea has come from that somebody from our staff has had a problem, and hey, I want to fix this, I want this type of pouch, or I would like to have the jacket which is functions like this, and that is the basis for the product. So the we do, as you said, that some of the companies pretend to be more than they are. uh, we're happy if we can make a good product and it sells, and if our own staff is enthusiastic about it, it's good to go. It's probably gonna sell well. So
Enthusiasm is so underrated in that way. Like, and when you have people in a company who are actually excited about the things that happen in that company,
yeah.
that spreads. That's something that
Yeah.
becomes contagious in a positive
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And I know we mentioned kind of rolled over it a couple times. Finnish brutality.
Ooh.
Tell us about Finnish brutality.
Yeah, Finnish brutality was originated from the work what the in-range TV did with the two-gun action matches, and they held the first desert brutality on 2018, and we sponsored that and worked with Ian and Carl to set it up. It was in Cowtown Range in close to Phoenix.
I did
And
the artwork for that in 2019, I think. I did the poster for it.
2019, yeah, or 2020, yeah,
One of
I
those years. I don't remember.
yeah. But it started from there, and desert brutality, at least for me, it was something totally different, because I have shoot the local matches here, like Finnish version of military three gun, IPSC, all that stuff. But the desert brutality was totally different. You get gassed out, you shot like a really long course of fires. It was crazy, and I was like, we need to get this into Finland. So I I started to kind of plan the match, and we agreed with the uh, Carl and Ian that okay, let's do it. And it was the same time when we actually relocated our company, and we had the grand opening for our facility on 2018. So we rented the local range and then set it up the match, and we were pretty hesitant that will anyone show up, but it was sold out like immediately. And since that we have run
Awesome.
that annually, and the idea is to do like the two can match where you have a physical and mental challenges, and to have a good time with the community, bring some foreign guests to see how things roll here in Finland. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. Now we're having the next match in August, and it's actually a week before our 20th anniversary
That's
day
so
at
awesome.
yeah. So that's our origin story. And so it started as kind of the offspring of desert brutality, but then it over the time it has evolved as a kind of its own institution.
So
Yeah.
what kind of things do you do in that? Like I haven't had the pleasure yet of actually participating in any tactical games. I've seen some things, but like what kind of trials and tribulations do you guys have?
Um, Typically during the match weekend, we shoot 10 stages, so 5 stages on Saturday, five stages on Sunday, and the part time for each stage is 3 minutes. So it's fairly long course of fire,
Yeah.
and we usually try to do the stages in a way that if you are average to good condition and good shooter, you can pass that kind of under the part time. And one example is that you start from of the stages, you start from a 150-meter line, you go prone, shoot to the small steel target, one or two hits, then you jump up and start tossing the kettlebell downrange, and you continue until the 100-meter marker, and then from there you sprint to the 50-meter marker and gain your hit. So it's really physical with fairly challenging shooting.
What's the weather like at that time?
Depends on when we are having the match. In August it can be really good, like almost summer, but it can be also really crappy. The 21 Finnish brutality was, or yeah, 21 was pretty cool. We run that during the October when the weather was like really shitty. So it was like -2 Celsius. I don't know. Sorry, but I don't know the
No, no, you're fine.
Fahrenheit,
You're
but
fine.
it's cold.
Yeah, no,
And
that's cold as fuck.
and we dug a trench like until the neck trench, like huge trench, and we filled that with the water. And you needed to shoot from ice cold water with all your gear. You
Oh
can
my
find the
god.
video from the YouTube.
Jesus fucking Christ,
And
that's wild.
and being in that water like 3 minutes at least, that was pretty shocker for many of the people.
Yeah, sometimes I like I take a cold like Jax loves to take cold showers. So like we'll shower and then he'll just crank it to cold and I'm like I have to like try I wish I was better at that. I'm trying to be better at
Yeah,
that. Heat and cold cycling.
yeah,
It's so good for you. So
yeah,
we had this apartment we were at where we'd stay in the hot tub during the winter and there was
yeah,
a pool and like, oh, pool's closed, but it was like it's down to 19,
yeah,
20 degrees sometimes during the winter. So we'd cycle from the hot tub to the
yeah, that's
pool.
great.
And that was really fucking it was cold. You're like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh fuck. But it
yeah,
felt good. So
yeah,
that had to be
yeah.
how do
That
you stop people from getting hypothermia?
Yeah. It sounds
well,
miserable. I want to do it.
Yeah.
yeah, it is miserable. The foreigners, we kind of take care that they are well prepared, and there was somebody supervising that they change the dry clothes and kind of warmed them up. But the Finns, it was like it's ordinary, like no factor.
It's Thursday.
We're just
Yeah.
built different. The Finns are just built different.
Yeah. And last year we had the stage where you needed to start from sauna. We had the tent sauna, like a field sauna on a stage, and you were
Are you
on.
naked though?
Yeah, you could be totally naked, but because it's filmed to every conceivable YouTube channel, so we opted that if people want to have their swimming trunks on, it's okay. But quite many people did it butt naked. So you start from a sauna. Your gear is outside the sauna tent. From a buzzer, you throw the water on the rocks, grab your gear, like put your plate carrier on, your pistol belt, ear pro, eye pro, and then you start going through the course of fire. And it was really funny, like, because people needed to upfront decide what gear they're gonna put on, because everything which was on the box you need to kind of get on you. So for example, I just took my pistol belt and plate carrier, but I didn't take the shoes, which was pretty stupid because running on a gravel barefoot
Oh,
was was not that fun.
Well, especially after being all like hot and soggy. Like I
yeah.
feel like
Even just some flip flops, just something.
yeah,
Yeah,
because I feel I've got pretty tough feet. I feel pretty
Yeah,
confident running over certain things, but when you're soggy like that, your
yeah,
skin's
yeah.
all soft,
yeah.
and
Just
that sucks.
imagine being like, I don't know, like the year is 2035. Russia is pouring over Finland's
Mhm.
border. Imagine being the Russian conscript that just sees Yari ass naked running out of a sauna with like plate carrier, battle belt, gun, and just like fuzzy Pikachu
Like he'd
slippers.
have one of his horses stationed outside of
Yeah,
it. So Jared come out just buck ass naked, hopping on the horse,
yeah.
fucking dick swinging out, like shooting on. That would be amazing.
Yeah, but
That's
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 that's kind of
beautiful.
gives a bit idea that there it's a serious competition in a sense, but with the flair that we want to bring in some fun elements, some cool elements that people get the experiences like uh, what they wouldn't get from a local match or something. So
It's like a culture. It's a culture
Yeah,
additive, truly.
yeah, it's like a shooting festival. Because it's the what I always say in a safety brief, that there are like a priority of things. The first and foremost is of course the safety, but then you need to have fun, and then comes that don't suck. Like
Yeah.
fun is mandatory, safety is mandatory, fun is mandatory. Not sucking, it's up to you, but but
Don't suck. Not
yeah.
mandatory, but suggested.
Yeah,
Suggested.
yeah.
and it's kind of a funny, the whole project starts to live of its own life, and I think that's cool. It's like we have a lot of ROs who are voluntary working there. Of course, we take a good care of them, and the whole kind of the organization, we're staying on a cottage in the middle of nowhere where the range is. So first we build it, then we shoot the RO match, then do some barbecue, drink beer, and then there is the 2 days of the actual match. And it's like a gun festival. You have all the kind of um, guys from a Finnish shooting community coming together, arranging the match, meeting the friends, meeting some new friends, showing up the how things work here in Finland for the all the our foreign guests. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm I'm so excited that we're doing it again on August. And yeah,
When you come to
that's
the States, you'll definitely have to have a States Finnish brutality. So that because so much geographic like
yeah.
diversity. If you want to be in some fucked up weather, you go to like Wisconsin
Yeah.
or
Montana
Minnesota.
brutality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the kind of there are plenty of brutality matches like Desert Brutality. Now they are doing the Woodland Brutality in West Virginia, which it's actually a pretty cool facility where they are doing it. So there's also some options, but I think the Finnish brutality needs to be on a Finnish soil with the
Fair enough.
with
Fair
the with
enough.
the Finnish crew. So,
Have
but
you
yeah,
Yes,
have you
it
heard
is
of
in the name.
have you
yeah,
heard of Cola Warrior? I haven't done that
yeah.
yet. Whatever.
I,
But
I,
people
I
are just that's the most American shooting thing I can think of, like
What is it?
chugging. So like you do a bunch of running and shooting, you stuff your face with like Peeps marshmallows and Coca-Cola and throw up everywhere and keep going. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
yeah, many of the people who I met in
Nathan's
Shot
face
Show
right now.
has suggested that we should do the Cola Warrior and the Red October. So, and that's a part that I haven't seen that much of the kind of the matches in US. I definitely would like to go to more of those, especially the weirder the better.
I like there's like I love guns. I love shooting. Like that's no secret. I love this shit. Um, if I ever go to, I would sooner kill myself, I think, than go to Cola Warrior. That sounds like hell. It sounds like the literal like Judeo, like I freeze my ass for like I don't know 3. Like I will die of hypothermia in a trench in Finland before I chug.
Throw up Peeps and soda.
Yeah, before no. Fuck that John Harvey Kellogg bullshit.
I'm curious to see how, like, I've definitely done a lot of flat range work, but I'm curious
Yeah.
to see the I don't know what element that brings to it, because I've had the pleasure of doing some really incredible dynamic stuff, like Darcy, where it's
Yeah,
totally I don't have anything else to compare it to. I have a feeling I probably won't need much else to compare it to.
Hey,
Judging,
let's do Milsom West.
huh?
Let's do Milsom West.
Yeah,
Yeah.
funny enough, I was supposed to do it last year with Mr. Thumb, and he literally forgot about like the second event. He's like, "Oh, shit." I'm like, Mike, when are we going to fucking Milsom West? And he's like, oh, let me see. And he's like, oh shit, we missed it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to go. Yeah, I'd love to go. And I think we should bug him. I'll text him about that. We'll bug him about
Yeah.
going together, because that would be really fucking fun.
Yeah, that could be fun. It's just
I've
so-
never done, like, I grew up doing paintball. Like, I was one of the
Yeah.
paintball kids. I always thought airsoft was for pussies because it didn't hurt. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, everyone was all into like the tactical aspect of it. I was into the like, I'm gonna fuck you up with pain.
Yeah.
No, you can't beat me. I got something to prove. Whatever. But that said, anything force on force is
Yeah.
just fun.
Yeah.
And anything.
would
I
do-
don't care if we have to dress up like Teletubbies. I
I would
not
love
eat
a
pizza.
Milsom West where everyone had fucking Sims and UTMs.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
That
Yeah.
would be that would just be something cruising around, because
Yeah.
there's consequence. Like airsoft, like yeah, it's a little stingy, but like unless you're holding it to like your skin and pumping in rounds, like it's such a quick recovery. It's just not the same learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Sims
kind
or
of
UTMs.
the FX rounds like really keep you humble. Yeah.
I still have scars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got some real handsome little kisses on my thighs
Yeah.
from last time I was there, because not everyone uses UTMs, but some people provide them and use them. Most of the Op4 is Sims.
Yeah.
But being on this time, because this time I went to L1 and did the hero side, where last time I was there doing Op4, but
Yeah.
it was, you get shot the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's awesome.
It is.
I'm the kind of person though, when I get into something with that level of like adrenaline or excitement, I just feel like I black out and then I
Yeah.
finish it. And it's, oh, whoa, what happened? So as far as my adrenaline is the kind that I don't feel any pain till the end.
Yeah.
So I'll do something and like this has been a problem where like I've broken things like physically, or, cut something out, and I've never like cut a femoral fucking artery or anything, but I've definitely been in a couple places where you get to the end, you're like, yeah. And then it's like, oh shit, my pinky's broken, or oh shit, my leg's laid open and I didn't even know about that. And you gotta go, get it patched up or whatever. But in that,
Yeah.
I'm just like, let's fucking go. And at the end, I'm like, oh, I got some ouchies.
I can't get this idea out of my head. Just like the podcast art, the three of us. It's just the three of us just vomiting Coca-Cola and Peeps.
Yeah, that's brutal. I hope to never do that. I hope to never do that.
I'm so sorry. I had to go back to it. It just bothers me that it
You're
exists.
But
that gave me thoughts that I can't undo now. Just eating marshmallows and chugging. I don't even like soda. I don't even drink soda. I don't drink beer.
that's interesting. Like because I caught up with the idea from a bit of the different angle. I because I designed the Finnish brutality stages, and I always try to think that what would be something really unexpected for the people that they are not prepared. And one year we had you needed to shoot in a gas mask, of course physical extortion, like, but how do you what do you can introduce safely, because you need to keep the safety in mind, for example, but like which is something which kind of puts people off balance. um, Last year we had the explosions, like coming like really close,
That's
you
awesome.
get the mild concussion. But I have played around with the ideas, can we spray the pepper spray on people's face before they start? No, bad idea. They might shoot some.
No, bad
No.
Gary.
Can how can we simulate that? Maybe if they take the spoon of hot sauce before starting.
Oh,
What about
oh,
if somebody kind of gets Caesar from some peanut, and then we need to pump them full of adrenaline. So you gave me an idea, kind of that what we could do, but like that's the process where I went. That okay, how can we introduce the discomfort and unexpected things in the match in a safe way? And yeah, marshmallows could be one.
Yeah, I'm just like that to me is just so anything that causes distress in that way or disorientation, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
You can even something that you might not think about that really fucks people up is extreme sound. So being in a place, you get people train things and they'll be in a shoot house, say, and you're moving
yeah,
through and doing stuff, and then you're able to hear commands and have like some team element, and then
yeah.
suddenly there's fucking Ramstein blaring through the speakers and
I
no
was
one
gonna
can
say
hear
like
shit, and it's
Miley
fucking
Cyrus.
black. Yeah, or whatever. You have to think about if
yeah,
you're in somewhere, there's a disorienting element. So you can do a lot of that with
yeah,
sounds. If you ever
yeah.
want to get to the nitty gritty of just some fun psychological fuckery, let me know. We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
I do a lot of for all my artwork. I do a lot of marketing, which
yeah,
is effectively socially acceptable mind control. You have to be
yeah,
able to promote something and evoke feelings
yeah,
and emotions. But there's just some really cool, simple things you can do psychologically to introduce different levels of duress that
yeah,
force people to change.
yeah,
Perspective, sound, visual, whatever, flashing lights. And I would imagine the people participating in this don't really have seizure problems or severe allergies. If you spray someone in the face with mace and they're allergic to capsaicin or something or whatever, they'll probably just get fucked up and die, which would be
yeah.
really terrible. Make for a good story though for Finnish brutality.
Yeah. I don't
Maybe you should
know.
just fake a death. See how people handle like trauma and tell them at the end that the person's actually fine.
Yeah.
See how they handle it. Be like, that person just fucking died. Like, keep going. You're in the game.
Next shooter.
We just made this real. There is no safe word.
Yeah.
What's that face, Nathan? You're just like, it's like, have you ever heard of
Yeah.
McCamey Manor?
Oh, of Cayman Manor?
Yeah, McCamey Manor.
No.
There was this guy who was like unhinged. I think he had it in California for a long time before he moved it, but it was a manor, a mansion that he put like this. He called it an extreme haunted house experience. It really wasn't a haunted house experience. It started out like that, and then it became a borderline torture event that people volunteered for. And they had, there was like the stop words and stuff. You can look it up. It's called McCamey Manor. There's like a whole story behind it. He faced all these lawsuits, but there was wait lists years long to go through it. No one, I don't think, ever actually made it all the way through without quitting. He had a bunch of like, I don't know, probably just some war vets, and I know for sure he had like some veteran guys and different things like that who came up with fun, crazy like torture methods. But you'd go somewhere, get black bagged and dragged to this spot. So they effectively kidnap you. Then you end up going through a series of things, and it's only allowed to be two people at most. You can't have more than two people. but they would like feed them food, like that they said was other things or potentially the things they were actually feeding them. Who knows? They put them in like ice boxes, like claustrophobia, pull them out, like just crazy fucking. It was like Sear without the brakes. Is how like, there was no NATO involved in determining what's happening.
Yeah.
But people signed waivers, and there was like the safe word, and there were people saying they ignored the safe word. And you're like, but did they? But they had things on camera the whole time, and they had people who would go through and they'd be in shock. So they had paramedics and stuff for there, and they'd be like, no, yeah, there's like some ex fucking, I don't know, it was like a Marine or whatever, but he was just like, no, like I want to go, I want to go. They're like, no, you're actually in shock and you can't continue. He's like, no, I want to finish it. They're like, no, you can't. You're done.
Okay.
Passed out 3
I need
times.
to check that out. Maybe I get some inspiration.
Yeah.
But I just bring up that he had a bunch of crazy shit that he did. It was really
Yeah.
physically, like physical and psychological fuckery, but some of the things you can do to like disorient or create false danger is always really fun.
Yeah, it's sometimes when I do the stages, and like last year I came up with this idea that that we need to have the kind of a different division for all the recon guys and wannabe recon guys. I did my service in recon, so we run a lot. Like we ran a lot. So I was thinking that it's easy that in full kit, after every stage you run like 3 kilometers, like it's 200 something miles, and it's not a big deal. Like probably you run it in 12 to 17 minutes. But when you do it 10 times in full kit, it starts to be pretty gruesome. And I was actually like, dang, I never thought that it will be this hard, but because it was my idea, of course I need to do it. But it was crazy. Like people were like really losing their ability to function, because the stress, like you don't get any time off. You run, then you go to the next stage, you run, you go to the next stage. So you really start to see in people's performance that it took a toll. And I think it was a good learning experience for many of the people, that it's a different to shoot on a flat range nice day than being totally beat down and then start to hitting the target. So yeah,
That's such
sometimes
an
you
important thing that you bring up, though. Like you said, hitting the being able to work through that pressure and like that physical pressure and stress to make something happen. That's awesome.
I'm big advocate on like if you're serious about the shooting, you should be equally or even more serious about your physical conditioning. I'm not saying that everybody should be Olympic level athletes, but you should be a asset, not the liability. Like
the best you could be. Yeah.
yeah,
I agree with that.
unfortunately, like people are willing to put a insane amount of money to the new gun, but not to spend the equal amount of resources to exercise. And the exercising is like simplest universal method to improve yourself. It improves your mental capacity. It relieves the stress. It kind of it helps in every walk, every area of your life. So that I'm really strong advocate on physical conditioning. Like if I'm running the shooting class in our reservist training or something, I always take it up that hey, it's important that you you are physically functional, not only a good shooter, because you're not good shooter if you're not physically able person to do shit. So that's my take on
No,
kind of
fitness is
you need to be
incredible.
holistic.
No, I fully agree and support that. I often say
I
this.
agree.
I say this a lot on my streams and other places where I'm just like, hey, the list of what's wrong with us all is very long. We've all got the bad knees, the bad ankles, the bad eye, the this, the that, the insert, the anxiety, the depression, all these things. And the list for what fixes us is actually pretty fucking short most of the time.
Yeah.
People go to the doctor and spend a bunch of money and go into debt before they ask themselves, Am I sleeping?
Yeah.
Am I eating well? Am I hydrated? Am I working out? Like those are 4 things that we can do very simply. It doesn't
Yeah.
simple does not mean easy by any
No.
means,
Yeah.
but it's simple. Like you work out, you do the thing. I read once in this article, and it stuck with me for a long time. It was an old Forbes article about it was talking about becoming places in power and work and what have you.
Yeah.
And one of the number one things they were promoting was fitness. And the writer of the article was expressing how fitness, like taking a shower, brushing your teeth, or putting on your shoes before you leave the house is not an optional thing. It
Yeah.
it needs to be part of your routine.
Yeah.
Like taking a shit or eating a meal. Like fitness is that. It's
Yeah.
even if it's 15 minutes a day, it makes so much of a difference.
Yeah.
People make so many excuses and reasons for, oh, this thing and this hurts and
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, my knee hurts. It's like your knee probably hurts because you're not doing this.
Yeah.
It's true. Like there's a guy who recently came in to our class, and he used to be like really into lifting, all these things, fell off the wagon a little bit, and has come in and started up martial arts again. He did martial arts a lot when he was younger, and he's back into it. And he's like, holy shit! Like all my shoulder that I couldn't move, my hip that was tightened up. Like we have
Yeah.
fascia in our muscles, and it
Yeah.
looks like a bunch of little fuzz that happens, that
Mhm.
tissue builds up between
Yeah.
them, and that tissue stays, and we have to move it every time we
Yeah.
stretch, when we move. That's that fascia getting released, moving around, that lactic
Yeah.
acid getting out of the body. That's your body needs that. It wants that. Like I'll post a video once in a while. I've had things where I'll show like, hey, look, here's a kick with one leg.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. And there's always a DM or message saying, oh, I could never do that because blah, blah, blah ankles. I was told by 3 separate doctors that I probably wasn't going to be able to walk before I was 35 because my ankles were so fucked up that I
Yeah.
probably need an ankle replacement. Well, 9 years of martial arts later, like training tendons and stretching and
Mhm.
actually doing what PT tells you to do.
Yeah.
And surprise, I don't need fucking
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah.
I just had this conversation. I think a lot of doctors are fucking stupid. Genuinely.
Yeah, no, I think we were just talking about this on stream the other night.
Yeah, no,
We
we
did
were.
our art night.
It's like I asked my sister if she wanted to come to the gym with me because she's got these problems and so and if she feels crappy and whatnot. She goes, no, I'd rather take a pill. Like, what do you do? Like, are you crazy? Why would you do that? And she's a doctor. She's a doctor. It's
There are no shortcuts. I
Yeah.
can't
No.
say this enough to anyone who's listening. There are no fucking shortcuts.
Yeah.
Not to fitness, not to well-being, not to
Yeah.
No.
success. Everything requires failure and how you proceed through that failure
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
every single aspect. Success is not, oh, I got lucky and things keep working out. They work out because you change your trajectory as
Yeah.
what is necessary, whether that's business, your body, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you have to have that element of failure moving forward. There are no fucking shortcuts, or you pay the price
Yeah.
every time.
And I think like the those excuses, everybody has excuses. Like I have had a lot of discussion with myself, like driving back from work, like am I too tired and is my back hurting and maybe I should take easy today. No, you need to cross that weakness on that spot. And I it's funny mental game that if you cross that weakness, it actually feels double as good because
Yeah.
you have won mentally and then you win the physical realm. And I think that's one of the benefits, that if you build it as a habit, you can start having those honest conversations with yourself that no, my back is okay, it might be a bit stiff, but when I start exercise it will kind of work out. And that way you also develop your mental toughness, so to speak, that you don't kind of take the easy exit, because that happens quite often, that people are too busy, too sore, like, do I have a flu? And all those are most likely excuses. And I have used the technique that if I feel that I'm getting sick, I'm still doing my workout routine and I will take the day off next day if I'm really sick, like, but not based on the hunch. I don't know whether it's a smart thing to do, but at least it works for me, that I kind of, I'm honest to myself that I'm not coming up with the excuses.
Well, there's working hard and then there's being reckless. And there is a
Yeah.
line. You can be reckless with your health and with your body
Yeah.
or with like your workload in that way.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like
it's like there's certain injuries you can't push through. A lot of them.
No.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, you have to know when to go back. Like
Yeah.
things
well,
like
you can
fitness
also
especially.
work around it.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, people be like, oh, I could never stand on one foot. I'm like, unironically, not to be condescending, here is a video of a person who doesn't have any fucking legs and they're shredded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's workouts you can do without your legs. Like,
Yeah.
not to be like, oh yeah, like literally, this guy has some good legless workouts. Like, there aren't excuses in that way. Like you say, people being busy and whatever, and I stand by this. There's no such thing as not having time. There's not making time.
Yeah.
We have to
Definitely.
prioritize. You have to make you a priority. If
Yeah.
I'm not a priority, if I'm not taking care of myself, putting my own physical, mental health self first, then everything else falls to the wayside. If I'm not in good health and good standing, I can't do business well. I can't be in the right headspace to make sure that I'm conducting myself in a way that isn't under delivering and over promising,
Yeah.
right? I need to be in a good headspace to work well, to be there for my family, my little unit, you know? I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't make time for things like, oh, I'm just too busy. This is a, you know, we got to keep that in mind. Even for people, sometimes if we keep blowing them off in text message or whatever, like, oh, hey, yeah, sorry, I can't make it work. Sometimes it's good for us to even assess then, like, oh, why do we keep blowing this person off? Why are we not making time for them? Maybe this person isn't someone that I want to make time for.
Yeah.
As much as that works both ways, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
No, I absolutely agree.
And fitness in general is like, and I don't even mean this, I'm sure anyone who's gone through this journey can relate. Like, without fitness, I legitimately probably would have fucking killed myself at some point in life. Like, everyone's got the things they do. The cure for depression is doing things that are good for you.
Yeah.
Like,
Actually.
yeah, there's TBI, there's things that happen, but there's so much improvement. There's so much now that we know, and people just don't do it. You talk about the guys buying the Gucci gear, right? The guys purchasing the really nice gun and the gear. I equate it a lot to, you'll see a lot of women who are, you know, obese, and they'll do anything to look nice, right? They'll buy really nice nails, they'll have long fingernails and nice jewelry and the highest fashion and the expensive purse, and their hair is always styled. Their makeup's always done, but they don't fucking work out. You can't
Yeah.
buy fitness that way. You have to earn it. You can't buy your way into coolness. Like, if you put your self-worth in things, that becomes all your worth, if that makes sense. You have to be worthy. Make yourself worthy.
Well, this is what I find about America and just kind of the Western world in general. And I've complained about this on this podcast before, but I'm going to fucking do it again because I'm allowed to.
It's your podcast.
Yes, well, it's our podcast.
It's our podcast.
All of our podcasts. It's convenience culture. It's the culture that, like, okay, you never have to leave your car. You can pull into the bank and, you know, talk to the teller in the drive-through. You can have all your groceries delivered to your car. You don't actually ever have to do anything if you don't want. You, like, the amount of people I know that, you know, they own the Gucci guns and the kid and everything, and they can't run a mile. They can't actually, you know, spend a day or two out in the wilderness, or they're simply unwilling to. I think kind of, you know, society's built itself in a way where we reward complacency and we reward people doing fucking nothing. We reward laziness because the easiest things are always, you know, given for the people who do the least work.
Yeah, that's one cultural thing, like, where I bump every time I'm in the US, that you or most of the time you can't walk anywhere.
You can't walk anywhere. It's weird, right?
Like from a motel window, you see that there's a Walmart. I could go and buy a 6-pack of beer and some pretzels, and you start walking, and then suddenly you notice that there's this freaking highway, and you can't get underneath or over it or anything.
Yeah.
Like, walking around in most of the places except maybe New York, like Manhattan, like, you can't walk anywhere. Like, it's
a lot of metro places
you literally see the store or pharmacy or something. I need to get there. It's walking distance, but there's no a safe way to walk there.
Yeah, it's like, when I was in Coeur d'Alene in Idaho, like trying to get to the fucking Albertsons to get to buy some groceries. The walking way brought me like behind buildings through weird alleys, and then to finally get to the grocery store, I had to walk across a highway. Like it was bifurcated by a fucking highway. Um, and it's not like that anywhere I've been in the world. Nowhere.
You know, my favorite comparison someone brought up a long time ago to me, they had said that the major differences between, historical places like Europe and the US
Yeah.
is that the US thinks that 100 years is a long time, and everywhere else thinks that 100 miles is a long ways.
Yeah.
So in the US, for us, like it's not unusual to take a day trip that's 400 miles away.
Yeah.
I would drive from my little town of Eureka and take a day trip to Medford, Oregon, which is like 350 miles or 400 miles from there.
Yeah.
And it was like a day trip. You just get in the car for 4 hours, you'd cruise, you'd go do the thing, and then you come back. Like we were built on, traversing one way to the other quickly. Where like you had these cities and civilizations in Japan, China, parts of India, most of Europe, where there were people there for not just hundreds, but thousands of years, developing pathways and roads and like, communities. We just really quickly connected dots and had little spots all over. So that's why if you go to San Francisco, you can get around easy. Public transportation is really great. So is like walking on foot. Seattle is actually really walkable. I walk all over the city when I go down there. There's a lot of really awesome places to walk. So I think that's true of any major metropolitan place, that there have been enough people to support that. But otherwise, where else do you go? Like if you're in rural, Switzerland, you probably have to take a train or drive to go from one place to the next. Well, all of America is like that in many spots. You have neighborhoods, but like sometimes your neighbor is literally miles away. And that's for like millions of acres in the US. You can just be alone places. So I think that's the biggest difference there.
I find it really interesting. And like, I agree with the idea of like infrastructures are built for the people who live there, essentially. Like you've got people who commute to work every day. They commute back. Everything is done via car. You've got these newer cities, and you even see it in Canada. The further out west you go, because you can see a city built 50 years after the other one, built 50 years after the other one.
Yeah.
I live in one of the oldest cities here, and the city infrastructure is literally built for horse-drawn carriages. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But that being said, you can walk everywhere. Whereas, you go out to Alberta, and even metropolitan Alberta, it's like you need a car for most of it. The city infrastructure is not built. Or like Los Angeles, I would argue you need a car there. Like
Also, just like some of the cities are just so shitty. You want to be in something that's like a degree of safeness away from the psychotic elements around you.
I was about to say Seattle. I might want like a bulletproof layer between the gen pop.
For what it's worth, and I still stand by this. There's so many things that are a shithole, but it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I still walk around and get around fine. You're gonna run into stuff.
But you are the most dangerous thing out there, Paige.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I at least know how to shoot, and I'm pretty quick on my feet, but it's not going to save me in 100% of things, but situational awareness goes a long way too. Just don't engage. Don't make eye contact with them like animals. You just don't. But, we have cities because of highways. Other places have roadways because of cities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like we have like destinations that kind of accidentally became successful. Like you look at places like Vegas that just kind of started and exploded, and it was someone made a road to the middle of the fucking desert. Like look at the geography.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, think about how long the US has actually conquered our land, as it were, across everywhere, and what has become the result of that in a short amount of time. You're like, okay, like Seattle's huge and has been an exponentially growing city. It's one of the largest exponentially growing cities in the US, or at least it was for a while. Like I came here when I was 17, and how it looks now at 30 is insane. It is so different. It was like going to a different city. And then all the locals who've lived here for many, many years who see this stuff, you drive by and there's a 5-story building that literally pops up sometimes in 8 months. And it's incredible how fast it goes. It's kind of, it's wild. It's humans prolifically creating infrastructure really quickly.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Yeah.
So.
Whoa.
Prolifically creating infrastructure, then setting up shooting matches where you just drink Coke and eat Peeps.
Yeah. That's the cool
That'd
thing.
be amazing.
I will stand though. That is the cool thing about America is that for as much as I don't know, the white pill for a bunch
Yeah.
of people is that the media has to try so fucking hard. It literally takes a global psyop to try and push certain ideologies, and it's still not working. So people flip out about shit like, oh, it's this, that. I'm like, nah, bro. Have kids, have a homestead. Do you think, yes, things are expensive? Yes, things are fucking hard, but become useful,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like make a little bit of usefulness there.
Have you seen the videos? And I'm not going to go down this whole fucking rabbit hole, but I'm just going to put this out there into the world. All the videos of the farmers being forced to pour out milk and destroy their eggs.
Yeah, stupid shit like that is
Yeah,
gonna
it's
happen.
scary
But
shit. I
but
don't like it.
also it's hard to say, okay, I'm gonna say this. There's many people who we post and see many things,
Yes.
and it's really, really, really hard to determine what's fucking true. Like
Yes.
when you have deep fakes of people looking like Morgan Freeman for fun, or like my favorite are the recent memes of like Trump and Obama
Oh
and
yeah,
Biden like
gaming.
playing Call of Duty together and shitting on each other, and like it's hilarious. You're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is funny, but it's also fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So you can have a snippet from something, whether it's like I've seen snippets about war where it's recycled footage and they're using that as the example of what is happening, or at
Yeah.
least isn't saying like, hey, this is stock B-roll footage from something else.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's this missile launch. And you're like,
That's from
that's from
Iraq.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Why are you
Mhm.
sharing that now? So unless I've seen it, unless I've talked to farmers who
Yeah.
have been through that, I have a hard time just taking it for face value. I
Yes.
think artificial inflation is as easy as making some videos, making some memes, adding some zeros digitally to a bank account to fuck
Mm.
everyone else over. Like I don't think it's um I don't think it's any mystery that our economy is failing and that things are becoming crazier and harder for a multitude of reasons.
Yes.
But that
Yeah.
also being said, it was like with all the COVID shit. I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I have friends who are. And
Yeah.
so I asked them. And so, maybe some farmers will give us some feedback in DMs or comments who
Mm.
listen to this. Like, yeah,
Yes,
no, this
I
Yeah.
would like that a
happened.
lot actually.
The
Yeah.
huh?
I would like that a lot if anyone wants to.
Yeah. Like share your experiences. Like be real about it. If get a DM that's like, yeah, hey,
Yeah.
so the feds knocked on my door on my milk farm and told me to pour out my cow titty
Yeah.
juice. Like,
Yeah.
Because there is a tactic, like a counter psyop tactic, which is in and of itself a psyop, which is if there is information you don't want to have out there, simply flood the airways with as much information as you can,
Yeah.
to dilute it. No one knows what's real anymore, and I feel like it's demoralizing at its core, and I feel like basically every country does it. I think that was from the USSR's playbook.
But I think that's a kind of important skill in the future, to really have skill set to evaluate the sources and evaluate how authentic the message is. And I think that should be the something like the skill what should be taught from toddlers and upwards, that because all the we see it a lot here now when there is a war in Ukraine. We live next to Russia. We're
Yeah.
joining NATO now, so there's a lot of crazy shit floating around. Luckily, the Russians are like, as Russians, they are not that good. Many of the kind of misinformation campaigns are like seriously, bro. But there are some good shit going around as well, and when you pump that out in a volume, it's a real problem. And like the stuff what's going on here in Ukraine, wider in Europe, you really need to pay attention that if there is a political scandal or if there is something what people relate and can get angry or emotional, I think it's a wise thing to kind of take a deep breath, think about it like, hey, does this make sense and why this is like being pushed out, and that way at least you can avoid that you are sharing some shit or going on the trap of putting your focus on something which is irrelevant or misleading. And I think that's a really valid point, that you need to pay attention and evaluate that, like what's the real source, can I find it in from a different angle, and who's behind it and all that. Like the Russian trolls, it's like it's like freaking crazy. We posted it in Instagram that because now we're joining the NATO. Finnish word for saving is like make safe, save somebody is the kind of translates the in a certain manner. So the trolls were making that straight translation, Google Translator or whatever, that NATO cannot kind of save Finland, meaning like save on a disk or something.
Oh,
Because
different kind of save.
Finnish word is pelastaa. So they were like that saying that NATO cannot like, and the Finnish word is like tallentaa, is like save on a disk. So they
So
had this
preserving versus the
Yeah.
act of saving.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
funny.
so it was freaking, there was tons of those in different discussion forums, and people were like, whoa, this is so awesome. And it became a meme quite well fast, but there was some malicious intent behind it. They just executed, as the Russians do, like shitty work with that as well. But that's floating around a lot here and in Europe in general, and especially against the Ukraine.
To your point though about, people being angry, talking about that disruption, if you can piss someone off, you own them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
straight up. If you can evoke an angry response, that, and this goes across a lot of like Eastern philosophies and stuff that I enjoy leaning into. And it's, we have a mind, body, and spirit. And we separate those three things in our Western language. But in many Eastern societies, there's single words for that. Like, for example, in Japan, the word kokoro means like heart, but people translate to be like a beating heart, and that's not it. It's like the entirety of the body, the totality. There's a bunch of things that represent that singly, and anger disrupts that in its entirety. When someone's angry, there are literally endorphins that shut off certain parts of logic in your fucking brain so that you're able to act in certain ways. As with all things, our dopamine surges were originally made to be tools for certain things, right?
Yeah.
Anger was made to be a tool that was for accomplishing a task on behalf of a thing. Like that adrenaline rush was
Mm.
made to be used for that reason, to push through, to, take care of something, protect a kid, whatever. But we've now been exposed to that on such an extreme level, just in what we constantly are digesting, as it were, from media and what have you, that when we scroll past something and it pisses us off, that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
marketing, if you scroll past something, you'll get people, I'm not immune to, I don't fall for propaganda. Wake up, sheeple. And it's like, no, you're not immune to propaganda.
No,
You are
nobody
also
is.
indoctrinated. If you've scrolled by a post and felt cool, felt funny, felt nostalgic, nostalgia is a hell of a weapon in marketing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell you this, but you can't buy your childhood back. So people keep doing that. Like, oh, remember these times? Remember? I don't know if you ever saw this episode of South Park, The Member Berries, but it's like, oh yeah, remember these things? Remember Star Wars? Remember? Yeah, buy this, do this thing, go back to your little cocoon of the old times. Like, that's not how it is. Like, you
Yeah.
can appreciate that, but anger absolutely disrupts. Like, have you ever been in a fight and pissed someone off? They lose it. I've been there
Yeah.
where you just lose your fucking cool, you black out, you don't know what's going on, you forget to block for punches
Yeah.
because you just want to hit. You forget to move your body so you don't get hurt additionally in a certain way because you don't care. And people do that recklessly and emotionally with things.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, this thing, that thing. And it's as much as I want to be like, the easy answer is, oh yeah, take a breath and think about things and assess it. That becomes hard because I love the idea of teaching kids, yeah, seek information, do it. But how everyone teaches kids how to seek information is,
Mm.
one family will say, no, you must listen to CNN. The other says, no, you must listen to Fox News. The other says, no, you must go to 4chan. You must go to Facebook. Like, ultimately, somewhere in all that, we now have to find the mean of these things, the
Yeah.
average, the median. Like Nathan, you bring up the point of talking about how there's so much misinformation that it's dogpiled. There's that method that's called spoiling the barrel that was
Mm.
Yeah.
originally used during things for like Area 51 or the Nixon administration, where something crazy did in fact happen within the US government.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
then further rumors were spread that were also additionally crazy.
Yeah.
And then that's when things like the word conspiracy theory
Yeah.
began to grow in negative terminology. It literally
Yeah.
just means an alternate theory,
Yeah.
but it's become associated and has been changed to represent someone who's off in the weeds and crazy about things because
Yeah.
there were
Yeah.
so many tinfoil hat alien dudes that they would interview online or on TV. So people associated the marketing work to associate that
Mm.
imagery in a negative light.
Yeah.
So maybe there isn't a right answer. I'd like to think that the healthiest way is anecdotal experiences matter. People will be like, oh, you just have this peer review. I'm like, yeah, that's literally what we all base our ideologies after. We all
Yeah.
base our ideologies off of our own biases. That's what we do as people with perspectives. That's important for all of us to shape our opinions about the world. It's like if someone will be like, oh, this person grew up and they've experienced racism their whole life, and it's like, well, and this person of the same ethnicity grew up their whole life and has only experienced the opposite, being welcomed or treated well by these
Mm.
people. But everyone wants to make a straw man argument out of their own
Yeah.
beliefs. So I try to like accept those things when I hear from this or that. Like I have many friends in medical who during COVID, there were several who were like, yeah, no, get the vax. It's important. Then you speak to someone in immunology and who in vaccine development and FDA protocols, and they're like, yeah, no, this is not proportional to what's actually happening. I'm like, that's fucking crazy. So we see those differences. I think the best thing we can do is become scavengers, hunter gatherers of
Yeah.
information and hopefully let logic determine those things and not how we feel about how the stats make us feel
Yeah.
to determine those things.
I think the best thing could do is return to hunter gatherers in general, and
Yeah.
just
I concur that that would fix many of the problems.
yes,
Well, if the power grids all get wiped out by China, we're going right back to the 1800s anyway. So, yeah, all this, these feminist bullshit and the world we live in of hyper wokeism and hormones and SSRIs, you better figure it out because you're gonna die.
yeah,
Yeah. I think in Finland, like then when we have the war going on quite close here, and we are bordering with Russia, it has been a sobering experience. Like all the kind of small things have been pushed a bit on a back burner. People are more focusing on the essentials. That um, of course there's all the normal craziness going on, but like when the war started, like people start to think about that. Do they have the right supplies? Are they kind of the asset to their community? Do they have the right training? All kinds of this type of stuff, and I think you can see it in a public discussion that it's more like that. How do we go forward as a nation? How do we go forward as communities, and also like what's our role to help the Ukraine, and what the EU should do, and how can individuals help them? So I think there was a shift that from all the like unimportant shit which is floating around, it kind of get a bit more focused, and at least that's a feeling that when there is kind of the more urgent things going on, people may gain the perspective, and that at least how I see it, how things happened here. Even though we're totally safe, we have nothing going on here, but when there is a war going on so close, that helped the people to kind of put things on a perspective.
No, ultimately, though, I think that we need to have, going back to what we were talking about in the beginning, the Universe 25
Mm.
experiment. When we end up having everything provided for us, we forget to forage for what's necessary. However, we do evolve, and what we need to forage for to get those things changes. That's a moving target as well. So, foraging now is not for what we already have a surplus of, right? I
Mm.
think it's important to know how to make water, get food, do these things, be useful. However, we're in a day and age where our hunter gathering, like I'm saying, is information.
Yeah.
Being able to fight through our emotions, weed through what's important, and ultimately take the summation of these things to develop hopefully an informed opinion
Yeah.
and still take into consideration that we might be fucking wrong.
Yeah.
It's like being a kid growing up and seeing your parents live a certain way, and then one day you realize, oh my God, they're just people.
Yeah.
Like as
Oh my
children,
god,
we
that
see
was such
them
a
as like,
sobering,
yeah,
sobering moment.
it's like we wake up we wake up one day after thinking for years that our parents were effectively, omnipotent. As a child, that's what we do. We're like, oh, all the things, all the answers. I remember being 5, and when my kindergarten teacher was saying like, well, no, we don't know. Like adults don't know everything. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
adults don't know everything. Like that blew. I was like, this is wild. It's possible for a child to know more than an adult. And that just like set me on like a little pathway of learning and growth, I guess. But yeah, there comes a point where we have to be able to recognize that our foraging has changed. Our trajectory for mating has changed. How we interact in societies and culture has changed because we have something that is as much a detriment as it is an incredible thing to us, which is Yari, we're talking to you right now in fucking Finland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Nathan's in Canada. I'm in Seattle area. And here we are, like all communicating in one place about the world's problems and issues and things.
Yeah.
And
That's pretty cool.
that's
Yeah.
incredible. That's genuinely incredible. That's our superpower. That's this generation's fucking superpower is that we are able to be connected. But everything always has an opposite reaction, right? There's always equal and opposite reaction. And it's just
Yeah.
finding ways to quantify those negatives and bring more usefulness to the positives. So, like with our ability to connect each other, how are we going to make the world a little bit better where we left it? What does that mean? In what capacity? Does that mean standing in front of millions of people and talking? Maybe sometimes, but I
Mm.
think it starts here and it starts small. So, like for anyone
Yeah.
listening, you don't have to have your own podcast, your own platform. You just have to be fucking good to the people around you. Kindness
Yeah.
is hard.
Yeah.
Kindness is fucking hard.
Yeah.
That's something what I have thought lately, like that there are so many kind of um, kind of the opposing ideas, and uh, people are kind of digging into the trenches, and they are like, my opinion is right and yours is faulty. I think a much more fruitful approach would be that even though you are disagreeing about something, that you would at least seek the understanding that why certain individual or a group is thinking in a certain way.
Yeah.
And you don't have to agree with them, but at least understand, and same vice versa, that they understand your point of view. And I think that is something what we would need a more. And I have tried in my like professional life and personal life to really kind of force myself that even though I have a strong opinions on certain things, to take a step back and like, hey, why I'm thinking this way and what I can learn from another person, that because obviously they have something in their mind, and that way too I don't have to agree with the person, but at least if I understand where they are coming from, it's much more fruitful for kind of the developing the relationship and fixing the problems than digging into the trends that no, I'm 100% right and my opinion is only wrong. Uh, I think the understanding is something what lately, like I have thought that, okay, how do I gain better understanding of people I'm engaging with? And that has been a bit of the learning experience, because as we all, I always think that I must be right, but that's not the case. Like,
A real,
Yeah.
recent example of kind of to the tune of what you're talking about. My friend Brandon Herrera, the AK
mm,
guy, he recently went to the birthday party of a politician named Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah.
Dan Crenshaw was kind of the savior in the gun world for a little bit, or it seemed like he was very well liked by the gun community, and they were hoping like, oh, he's the chosen one. And then he made, some pretty questionable political decisions that a lot of people felt were a poor representation of that. That said, Brandon took a lot of heat for hanging out with Dan, and I was like, this shouldn't be looked at like, oh, Brandon got to hang out with Dan. This is Dan got to hang out with Brandon. How great that a politician is talking to a based fucking person with awesome ideas like Brandon. So if someone like Mr. Crenshaw is willing to hear and communicate and associate openly with someone like the AK guy, that's good news, guys.
Yeah.
That means that there's someone who might be willing to fucking listen to what actually matters. And that's really fucking important. But people get so quick to come out with their pitchforks like, you hung out with this person? Maybe they could change their fucking mind. It's not like, oh, they got to associate with them. It's, yeah, that means that this politician is willing to hang out with and listen to, give a platform to other people who actually has power in changing policies.
Yeah.
So how could you not encourage that? How could you not
Yeah.
encourage? I hope every single person who's never shot a gun, like, takes the opportunity to learn what it is.
Yeah.
Talking to someone at the shooting class the other day who went to like a Berkeley class or equivalent. I don't remember that word was used. So I don't want to blow smoke about what it was exactly, but went to a classroom full of people and was like, hey, how many of you hate guns, right? 98% of them raised their hands. It's like, all right, I'm going to take you shooting. We're going to do this. Took them through like a shooting course, did a bunch of stuff, taught them things. At the end of it, he asked, how many of you hate guns? Less than 1% of the people raise their fucking hands.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's awesome. That's what I want to see. That's how change happens. We need to encourage conversations between people and the willingness of exchange. Yari, you bring up a good point of, people digging their heels in. It becomes, there's probably people listening to this who shit on religion and feel like, oh, I hate religion. I hate these things. Well, here's the thing. If you take religion out of the equation, you're like, all right, there's no religion, just people. Do you think people are going to do the right thing inherently, as you see? Well, no, of course not. We all have different ideas of what right and wrong is. Okay. So then perhaps there should be an agreed upon set of rules or ideas in which people collectively abide by. Oh shit, we're back to square one with like policies and a religious infrastructure. And now politics have become the new evangelical religion. If you insult something politically, you're insulting now someone's inherent ideologies, who they are as an individual. And so our opinions have become dangerous in the way that we are unwilling to allow those to be changed. We've forgotten that perception is and should be malleable. It should be something that can shift, that can change. I hate the idea of crucifying someone for something because they said some gamer words on a Twitter thread fucking 15 years ago. Fuck that. Like, someone's allowed to change. We are telling society every time we hold someone, like, I believe in accountability, so I'm going to say that. Like, I think accountability is really important. But there comes a point where people are afforded to change. And there's permissible rooms of change, right?
Yeah.
If you do something terrible and like, harm a child or something like that, like, no, fuck you, you get the wall. That's between you and God to work out. But for the rest of it, we should be allowed to change.
Regarding that topic, like that people dig in and have a really strong opinions, and kind of course, I look U.S. gun community from outside. Like, I know the guys, but I'm still outsiders. And I mean this with no disrespect, but why there is so much drama in?
No, actually,
because it's crazy because we all love guns.
Yes,
we all love shooting. You guys want to kind of keep your constitutional rights in kind of place, that they are not infringed. Here in Finland, we don't have the constitutional rights, but we love our guns too. So why so much drama and like, this said this and this company made the stupid statement, and like it seems weird looking from the outside.
No,
it goes back to
what
what you were talking about earlier, though, Jari, about being in a small community. we are so large across the board that people who support weapons don't support them in the same way. There isn't a, like, there are definitely micro communities, but
Yeah.
because of the scale, it it splinters off into different things. This is a result, I think, of many things. It's a
Yeah.
result of, the political separation that we've seen as a nation,
Yeah.
where people feel, yes, even the gun supporting conservative side too gets just as fucking fervent and emotional as the other communities that they poke fun at
Yeah.
over similar topics. It's
Yeah.
like these guns, I don't believe, are inherently a political thing, but
Yeah.
we've been forced into accepting that. It's like if someone works at Planned Parenthood,
Yeah.
right? It automatically becomes a political thing. I know conservatives who work
Okay.
at Planned Parenthood,
Yeah.
but it becomes like, oh shit, you work for the abortion factory. You support trans kids. You support, it's like, no, they're offering free cancer screenings or,
Okay.
taxpayer cancer screenings to young girls, other things, or they want to be in a place where they can help prevent those things from
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
That's very real. But
Yeah.
because of the political association, it creates divides. And then when someone feels like, well, they don't support what I think, which means they don't support me. They don't support what I mean as a person. And that's when things become dangerous. And it is
Yeah.
frustrating. And I think the drama comes from, yes, a clashing of egos and what have you, a state that we do and always have had that support of like that rebellion
Yeah.
culture and
Yeah.
military and firearms and whatever. And now there's going to be pissing contests and who's got the bigger
Okay.
dick and who does what better, and then people stealing something and someone agreeing, well, I think that this information should be open to the world, and others being like, no, I was just deployed and we took a building, and when we seized their assets, they had flash drives upon flash drives of American CQB that was accurate from movies and from YouTube videos and guides, and it's
Yeah.
like they use that against us, and it's like, well,
Mm.
both are kind of valid arguments. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's tricky. So I understand that. I don't think there's any good right answer aside from kindness isn't for the fucking weak.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Also, speaking from the outside, it drives me fucking wild. It genuinely does. Like I think that the weird political divide in terms of and it's come up here too, so I can't really say anything. But
Yeah.
I really hate when the community eats its own. I really,
Yeah.
really, really hate it. Um, and I think people, as you said earlier, they're addicted to becoming angry, and it's a
Yeah.
lot easier to eat people that are kind of, even in the fringes of your own community than it is to actually pay attention to the people on the other side.
Yeah.
It's low testosterone behavior.
It
Yeah.
is. It absolutely is.
It's
Yeah.
low
I,
T.
I think in Finland, like, of course, our gun community is like really small. Well, it's large compared to size of our country, but small compared to U.S. level. And it's, even though we have the hunters and the old school FUDs, and then we have a tactical teamies, it's still fairly kind of equal, or everybody is on a more or less on the same page. And it's, I can be like in a same match or event with the guy who is like 180 degrees of what I'm thinking and seeing the world, but we have a common ground. We love guns, so we're cool. It's kind of, that's, there's that one common denominator, and that's it. You can kind of work with the people uh, quite easily, and that is something what I would like to see globally, and that's one thing what we try to do in with the Finnish brutality, for example, that when we get the foreign visitors, we try to learn from them and show how we do the things, so that we would have the kind of the global community around the topic what we are really passionate about, and leave all the bickering and that stuff outside. And that's how I see or at least I try to work in that way, that building the global better community. Mhm.
And I support that. I think the other thing maybe is that, to be fair, people be like, there's so much drama in this community. There is drama in every single fucking niche community. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's the drama class at your high school, literally, or like the other day, I follow a lot of artists on Instagram,
Yeah.
right? The shit that happens between the microcultures of art is nuts. Like there was someone who made a post, she makes pottery, and she was talking about how there's a way to glaze your pottery and you can use wax or like a liquid latex to do certain designs before you dip it so that you peel the wax off and it enables you to cover certain parts and
Yeah.
expose others artistically. Well, because she used liquid latex instead of wax, she like pissed off a bunch of people being like, you can't, you shouldn't, and then other people being like, no, but I'm team latex, I use that. And you're like, what the fuck?
Like,
Like
who
it
cares?
became
Yeah.
yeah, in pottery. Okay. So, and then I had another person I knew who she enjoyed for whatever reason, like obscure drama of micro communities. And the two things that she would follow and laughed at the most was the equestrian community of horse breeding
Yeah.
and the dog show people. She
Oh my
literally
God.
subscribed to
Can you fucking
forums.
imagine what the drama's like there?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So why is the gun world any fucking different? It
Yeah.
just comes down to being like, I think also specifically around guns because there's so much political ideology that fires that and already is pigeonholed into certain things.
Yeah.
You also have, because of that, there's a lot of anger. There's not a lot of open
Mm.
acceptance there. There's a lot of anger that's constantly perpetuated in the US. On that same note, America is kind of irrefutably the world's leader in military. We just always have been. We're fucking everywhere. America with their big sticks and their big dicks have made it all over the United or all over the world in many places, and for better or for worse in many instances as well. But because of that, there are actually elite, awesome people training, etc. And when you have these elite cultures, you get loyalists. And when you get loyalists who fight on behalf of those principles and ideologies of the thing that they subscribe to. Going back to like the fervent religion aspect of associating with things.
Mhm.
So, for example, having gone to Darcy and having the pleasure of being close to many of the people there now, there are people who lie all the time about being Darcy grads. I didn't realize it was a thing. People being like, "Oh yeah, I graduated Darcy. I did this thing. I have so many breaches I've done and all this stuff." And they're like, "No, you didn't.
Jesus.
No, you didn't.
Whoa.
This person's lying," or they use it as fake accreditation. And that's a big thing with stolen valor, right? You have a
Yeah.
lot of men who fought overseas who feel very, very, very angry about stolen valor with people.
Yeah.
And rightfully, because they're like, no, I sweat for this. You did not. And you're trying to capitalize on it. And I think that maybe those elements, because gun culture is inherently associated, as much as we try to make divides about it, like gun culture is entwined and associated with fighting,
Yes.
military, for our lives, whatever. Guns are fun for sport, but I learned to be proficient for the sake of survival, period. Whether that's protecting myself or taking the life of an animal to provide. Like
Yeah.
either way, there's an element in that is very serious. And I
Yeah.
think if I had to guess, I think that's maybe my best speculation
Yeah.
about why that drama exists. And also the internet. People really quickly latch onto things. Someone makes a meme and then everyone gets upset about that meme and then everyone perpetuates that meme and then you end up with a bunch of angry people making a conversation about something and it's just like shut the fuck up. Don't engage. Scroll
Yeah.
past it and don't hit like. Don't respond with an angry comment. Shut the fuck up. No one
Yeah.
It's
go train. Go lift weights.
yeah. Do something like go make yourself better. When you said it's like low T behavior, I can't
Yeah.
sum it up in any better way. I genuinely
Yeah.
do not care about
It's
any
bitch
of it.
behavior. It's like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what women do. Stop it.
Yeah.
It's
That's a good advice.
I brought it up a couple times on this cast, and I think like you get deep enough into any hobby, the loudest and like most vocal proponents are going to be turbo fucking autistic. And you brought it up yourself, like equestrian and the competitive dog world. I think you get into like competitive vaping and
Yeah.
like you get into anything like
I bet there's
crochet.
Beyblade drama. I bet there's
Yeah.
Beyblade drama.
Oh,
Fucking
I would bet
Yu-Gi-Oh
money
drama.
on it.
You know there is.
Yeah.
Please DM us your funny drama stories about your niche and
Yeah.
micro communities that you're associated with. We'd love to hear them.
I'll get to my backlog of DMs eventually. I haven't been doing the screens still.
Yeah.
It's okay. You've been out one eye for quite some time.
Yeah.
On that note, we've been going, lads, for like
Holy
a
shit.
solid 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been looking like away from the screen as to not fuck my eye up anymore, so I have not actually noticed how long it's been. It does
Yeah.
not feel that long, eh?
No.
Like,
Yari, we're gonna have to have you on. Maybe at some point we can get Tony in on this too.
that'd be nice, actually.
that would be nice.
Yeah.
I would love to have him on a spotlight, but because he's kind of the cool guy character. He wants to be behind the scenes, but somehow
No one's gonna see
I'm
his face, just his
I
velvety voice and his
I'm
handsome
gonna
accent.
I'm gonna trick him here some
Yeah.
way or another.
Oh my god.
Tony, you have to come. You must come, Tony.
Yeah.
Paige said so. Do it, or she's never gonna talk to you at SHOT Show again. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
I love you, Tony. Well, so Yari, how can people follow you?
Yes. Kill yourself.
What's the best way to access you?
How do you buy your very
And
nice
Varusteleka,
chest
of
rigs?
course.
Yeah.
Now you're coming to America. I'll probably finish out my MO5. Like that chest rig you gave me, I fucking love it. I'm gonna.
Yeah,
Good
it's
to
great.
hear. Yeah. Check us out on varusteleka.com. You probably write it somewhere in the description, but
We
it's
Yes.
pronounced like Versaliker. You sharpen it, varusteleka.com, and we have the Instagram, Facebook, all the 9 yards. You can find it with the Varusteleka, and if you want to see me in doing some crazy shit, then it's my personal.
He
It's,
does do crazy shit. I've seen it.
at Yarila in Instagram. It's a snippet of my life doing purbees and that stuff. But go to Varusteleka. There you can kind of link up on different channels.
What does a Varusteleka mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of the wordplay. The straight translation is gear hammer. Like, yeah.
Oh, that's so hard. That's so
that
hard.
goes so fucking hard.
Varuste is gear, and leka is like a huge sledgehammer. So
Such
it
big energy.
doesn't mean anything, but like there's an expression in Finnish language or in slang that if you have a sledgehammer full of something, like, damn, the languages are hard to explain in, because it's just an expression that we have a shitload of gear.
That's
and
awesome.
there comes the name, and it doesn't translate well in English. The
Well, when you
straight
say like a sledgehammer full of something, like maybe someone could have a sledgehammer full of personality or of action or
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So just like a lot of
so that
powerful expression of a lot of.
yeah
Yeah.
so that's
Okay, no, I
that's
get
kind
that.
of a lot of gear kind of is the idea. And
That's dope.
we decided, because the name is so crazy that nobody is really understanding it. It's easy to register, so we have registered in it in US. There wasn't many of the comparables. It was really easy, right? And we want to be kind of the true to our heritage as a Finnish company, so we do global business with funny Finnish name.
Awesome. And we'll definitely be putting you on the Instagram and stuff like that. I
Yes,
say
of
we, by
course.
the way, because I am going to be helping Nathan more with co-hosting and a
Oh,
few other things. So in
Yes.
theory, some of y'all have been bugging me. Sorry if you don't like listening to me. That sucks. I don't like listening to me. But I am going to be helping Nathan co-host more.
yeah.
And do a
Thank
couple
you.
other things.
Help my blind ass do things.
And just get a little more organized. Shit, it's It's hard for all of us to keep up with anything. I have help.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to have help at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Between you, BR, and Lucas, we run a pretty tight ship that has holes sometimes. But
Yes. We're going to do that. I said, eventually, I'm actually going to have a conversation with BR. I'm like this involved. And I've still never like talked with him in any real capacity beyond messaging on Instagram. So BR, when you're editing this, please keep me in mind. We're very due for a phone call.
want you
Now
two
that you're
to
so-
like exist in the same room together. I think that'd be nice.
I know
Yeah.
it's gonna happen at some point, and eventually
Yeah.
you'll come out this way, and we'll all get to chat together,
Yeah.
like come to the studio and do some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Yari, dad advice.
Dad advice.
You
What's
give
knew
that?
advice.
this was coming.
It's just
What?
like you give advice.
Give some dad advice. Some fatherly advice for all the listeners out there.
Oh, I'm bad of giving advice, but I I would say that after you have listened to this and you're probably kind of pre-worn out, do 100 push-ups, the good ones.
Based.
Yes.
Based.
You know what? I'll do it literally right now. As soon,
Yeah,
as,
fuck it.
soon as we're
We're
done.
going.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do 100 push-ups for you tonight. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
Yari said, we're in on this. Let's fucking
Yeah.
go.
Let's fucking go. That's a good dad advice.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna piggyback on that. Say get good. You
Yeah.
know, fucking get good or
Yeah.
get got. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Also,
Sticker
like,
available at pajasi.com.
I'd say, if you don't run, like running sucks. I hate running. I hate running so fucking much. That's why I do it. Cardio is important. Go for a
Yeah.
run.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So ultimately, this was the if you're hearing this, get your ass up, quit making fucking excuses. Feel like, oh, my leg hurts, my arm hurts. Literally go look up videos of fucking amputees and you're
Yeah.
gonna have a workout routine. So shut
Yeah.
the fuck up. You don't have a reason except for just your my immune system or whatever. Fuck off. We've all got problems. I got a heart condition. I've had like no immune system for years. It finally started to come back after donating stem cells, among many other things. I'm like, who knows? I could just drop dead at any fucking point. But for now, I keep working out and it keeps me going. So here I am.
Yeah.
That's why I can't do drugs or fucking drink too much coffee.
Yeah. Okay.
People are like,
100
oh, it's just
push-ups.
because you're a spaz already. Nope.
Yeah.
It's because I would literally fucking die if I ever did cocaine or had like 7 shots of caffeine in a day.
Oh well, that destroys the plans I had with you.
Oh, damn. No meth this time.
No, meth
Sorry,
this time.
Ethan.
I've never done it before, but it was supposed to be my first. Okay.
We can still wear slutty neon clothes and dance at a rave together. It'll be great.
Deal.
Deal. On that note,
Good stuff.
Yeah, on that note, go do 100 push-ups.
Yeah.
Bye.